Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
Oh, that's did the thing. Yeah. There we go. Mm-hmm. We're here. I knew I forgot something. I was like trying to tweet out. But anyway, folks, welcome to another edition of Grapsody. I'm Will Washington, and I'm not alone here. I'm never alone here. They have to do this show alone is going to be a nightmare. But we always got Philip Lindsay.
Listen, man. See, eye of the tiger out here, man. Go to the fight, man.
Hey, Phil did call that. Phil knew it. He said it at the time.
Those Phils, I tell you.
Chicago Phils, man. Also here is Righteous Reg.
Oh, yes, it's me, your boy, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster, media man. It's March 25th, one day after my big homie had his own day. East Palo Alto declared it Powerhouse Hobbs Day. Doesn't get much bigger than these things. Like, you guys don't really understand, like, seeing a man come from the bottom, all the way from the bottom to being the fucking TNT champion. And now he has his own day. It's lit outside, y'all.
Shout out Hobbs. He let my son hold the belt on Tuesday, and they took that picture together. They traded belts, and Billy has been just talking shit on all my replicas ever since. He's like, Dad, I know you got those belts, but I held the real belt.
The real one.
Yeah, I held the real TNT title. It's so much better than those ones you have, Dad.
I mean, like, you know, Billy ain't lying.
No, he had the time of his life, though. He, we went to the.
He dunked.
He did. He got to dunk. Thanks, Satnam Singh. Yeah. So for those who haven't seen, we went to Independence, Missouri this week. It was a very, very last minute trip. In that I was really not. It's my kid's spring break right now, and so it was like we want to do something. They had been talking about trying to take a road trip. We had considered like Grand Canyon, like I don't know, typical Middle America family bullshit. But we were like trying to figure out what we wanted to do with our spring break and what kind of road trip we wanted to take. And Billy remembered that we did take a road trip to this exact arena a year ago. And Veda was like, I never got to go on that trip. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll go. We'll see. And we didn't find out we were going until Monday afternoon. I made 2 phone calls to see, like, okay, I would need a whole bunch of tickets to this show because all 4 of us would want to go. And it ended up being 5 of us going. And so I was like, okay, let me see what calls I could make. And I ended up getting everything. And then it was like, oh, yeah. And then they got that basketball thing Tuesday.
Well, yeah, because we work for AEW because we're shills. It wasn't hard. You just called your boss. Hey, boss, can I get tickets? We work here.
Somebody's not going to think you're joking.
I know. They always take it so seriously.
Yeah. No, but yeah, we made the drive and we ended up there the night before. So we went to the basketball thing, and it was cool. It was fun. There was
your 3 games. Jackson was out there lighting them up.
He was. I will say that them high school kids though were balling. It was so there were obviously 3 games played. There was or 4. It was 4, wasn't it? So the first game was a game of horse. That was the one that Billy participated in. And Billy made 1 shot on his own, and then everything else was like assisted. Jade Cargill was out there. Everybody was out there with that game. And then they played, and then they did the 3-point shootout. And the 3-point contest, Nick Jackson initially won, but it was really close. He only won by 1, but because he hit 10, and then Hobbs hit 9. And I think
That's right.
Colton Gunn hit 8, and
How's
then
that Tim's on?
what's did he? I don't remember.
If he was out there shooting at Tim's, bro, like we gotta have a conversation, man. Come on, bro.
Here's the thing: all of it. Brandon Cutler was there. All of this is going to be on BTE. So,
Yeah. Speaking of basketball and Jay Cargill, you Twitter folks, like I was telling you before, get yourselves together. Get yourselves together.
What happened?
Can't even watch basketball and say something like "Great D" without you guys like,
Oh
"Hey
my
yo, like get out of here,
Oh,
man."
yeah.
What's wrong with
I
y'all?
missed this.
yeah, she all she tweeted out was "Great D," and everybody's like,
Watching March
can't
Madness
handle
games,
it.
like
They can't handle it. I
get
get
yourselves together, Twitter.
I understand.
and then the high school kid I think also hit 8, and then so they narrowed it because then everybody was in the 3-point contest, and so they had. So they narrowed it down to the top 4, and then when the top 4 battled it out, it came down to Colton Gunn and the high school kid, and the high school kid won. So he ended up, so he was good. He was real good. And then
No, them young boys be balling these days, man. Every time I see a clip on, I'll be like, "This kid's 13 and he's 6'3" and he can hit threes." I'm like, "Yo, what is going on outside?"
I know, right? Now these kids were good too because they had the dunk contest, and like each contest they pulled in a number of fans, and that's how Billy got selected. I say
We
that
ain't never beaten these allegations, man. We
I
down
know.
bad. We are down.
It was
bad.
definitely random.
Yeah. Were you out there with a foam finger guy?
It's crazy out here. So there was a dunk contest where people dunking, like real dunks.
None of the fans could.
Okay.
They were all hitting like layups, and Big Show was like, and so Big Show and Mark Henry were like commentating the whole thing, and they were like, "That is not a dunk. Like the ball has to remain in your hand until you get to the rim for it to qualify as a dunk." And everybody would like run up, and then as soon as they realized they couldn't hit it, they just lay it up, and they're like, "Nope, not a dunk." And I like again, Colton Gunn was out there actually hitting dunks. Satnam Singh, of course. And then the final game was the game of knockout, and Nick Jackson won both of those. It came down to Nick and a different high school kid, and Nick beat him. And then the second game came down to Nick and Satnam Singh, and Nick beat him. So
Yeah.
you'll see all
I
of
don't
that
know.
on BTE.
I saw a very specific Twitter account when the Elite did that entrance with the basketballs and saying these guys look like they never touched basketballs, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's like a thing from BTE that the Bucks play basketball. Kenny coached and played basketball. What are you guys talking about?
Nick Jackson loves basketball. He's
Here, I'm-
always trying to shoot threes.
Here, I'm gonna let you guys on a hint. Like they dribbled the ball dorky because that was part of the bit. It was the joke.
That's
the joke.
Oh no, you know though we're gonna see on BTE this week. You'll see Nick hitting them shots while the dum 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 hits. So
Shout out to the Bucks.
yeah, so it was a good time though. I think everybody was just they took care of the fans, and everybody had a good time. I had great conversations, and shout out to
These events are cool, very very dope. Shout out to Amanda for doing these dope community events.
Yeah, Caitlin Borden is running the AEW community, or AEW Together, I think is what it's called now.
Okay, shout out to her.
Yeah, she's super kind. She's obviously, people would know the last name Borden. She is Sting's daughter-in-law. So she's
She's a worker?
No, but
I saw an article that said Sting had a daughter that was working too. Shout out to Sting.
Yeah, so she's the one running AEW's community outreach program, and she's doing a good job with it. I know I saw they've got events coming up next week and stuff, but yeah, that was a good time, and it was. I think the big thing was that it's usually rare for the Elite to be at stuff like this, and so for Kenny and Nick and Brandon Cutler to be out there, Don Callis was emceeing the whole thing, Like it definitely was really centering around the elite.
No, they saying basketball, and they were like, basketball? I'll come to this one.
Yeah, I'll be there. What's the community event? Slam dunk? Yeah, I can slam dunk. Or also, they trying to get outside because they got PR to do because somebody else is doing a lot of PR. He's from Chicago. His name's Phil. He's never seen Rocky.
Yo, I made the comparison in the spaces the other night that people are like, Punk keeps coming out and doing something every time they have anything good going on. I was like, y'all trying to say he's Hove now? Every time Nas drops something, he coming out with something. Throw a wrench shit.
Nas got the Grammy
Wow,
nomination. Hove takes a picture with all of his Grammys randomly. Hove is hella funny.
I mean, look,
Quiet forever,
the worst
B.
part is I wish I could disagree with that sentiment, but it is like
It seems like
it was minutes after, hey, like AEW rating came in pretty good this week. Oh, it looks like Vikingo and Kenny like actually drew as a main event. That's pretty cool. And like everybody's kind of talking about that. And then it's like, wait, what did CM Punk say? I feel like it was less than an hour after.
I mean, I'm of course joking. I don't know if that's true, but it is a funny joke.
it is really funny.
Yeah, it is like, damn, you couldn't even let them like celebrate having.
He's supposedly on good terms with one of those guys.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. There was a big Fightful Select story that dropped, and I couldn't really talk about it yet on Day After Dynamite yesterday because like it had not enough time had been out for me to be throwing paywall stuff out for free.
Y'all.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we got Humper Chats and Super Chats, and I want to make sure with this being Grapsody that you send us your Super Chats and Humper Chats. YouTube.com/Fightful is the way to get us your Super Chats, and HumperChats.com is the way to get us a Humper Chat. You can send them either any way you want. We have really no preference. Obviously, Humper Chats we get YouTube takes a bigger cut. So there's one thing, but then Humper Chat you can send at any time. So the cool thing about those is if you sent them like 9 hours ago, like Gabe did, then you can send them at any point and we'll still get them. Like Gabe here says, Phil, that Twitter Spaces was hilarious the other night. You was like TK in Oppressor with the no comment, but I get why. Also, I need TK to tweet out a Fight Forever chant has broken out and tag Brett Lauderdale during that Vikingo Commander match. #Graps.
Appreciate you, Gabe. I have to be strategic with spaces now because people be in spaces snitching, man, and I just ain't got time for people.
They used to be fun, but yeah,
it used to be fun.
Now you see a screen recording of somebody.
People be in there snitching and doing goofy stuff. But as you notice, my days of spaces are kind of done. I only do spaces for my guy, Ibu. When he invites me in there, I'll come in there. But
no, I got the invite from Ibu the other day, and I was like, I would love to, but I can't tonight.
Yeah, if you notice, guys, that's the only time you'll see me in spaces is when he'll send me a slide for him. But those days of me hosting spaces, it's kind of done, man. Bad apples ruined a bunch, man.
You were the spaces king, though.
Legit, like every night out there in them streets.
It was a fun run at one point, but you know, man, as I've told you before, Twitter sucks and they'll find a way to ruin everything.
Twitter really sucks, and it's only getting worse right now.
Oh yeah, it's flying off the rails for sure. It's over.
Yeah,
it's over, y'all.
Yeah. Look out for all of those new fake accounts popping up since people want to make people pay for verification now.
Let's see. We got this one from Jason. It says, Grapsody, happy Saturday. What do you think the best match of the ROH pay-per-view will be? And have you guys watched Monster Factory yet? Any plans on if any of you will be attending? Hold on. I'm pretty sure it says Forbidden Door. Yeah, Forbidden Door here in Toronto. Thanks again for being the most relevant podcast. Ooh, I wouldn't have said that, but
hey, you let the fans speak, man.
Forbidden Door, I'll be at Forbidden Door. I'm about 95% certain I'll be there. I don't really plan on missing any other like major events this year, except I guess SummerSlam clashes with the cruise I'm going on. So that'll be fascinating because I plan on being like mostly offline that whole time. So I don't even think I'll know what happened at SummerSlam while I'm away. But you know, I'm going to Mania weekend next week. I guess I'm missing the weekend part of it, but I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's on a Mania weekday.
So yeah, but Forbidden Door in Toronto, yeah. Look, I've never been to Toronto.
Six.
I've never been to Canada. Like I'm excited to just step outside and step outside the U.S. for a little bit, enjoy the weekend, and hang out with my wife's family, and
Dope.
yeah, that'll be a good time.
Yeah, I currently have no plans of going to Toronto. Probably not happening. We'll see. Probably not.
It's a lot going on. Mania
Hey,
and Double or Nothing weekend are coming up. It's like I'm trying, but it's a lot going on.
And hey, we just, of course, broke a little bit of news, of course, with the possibility of AEW's fall pay-per-view All Out being back in Phil's backyard, but way closer. Not having to do the Hoffman thing.
Listen, I've been waiting, bro. Come in the city, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming here every year during Labor Day weekend. It's a great tradition. Come in the city, man. Nobody wants to go out to Hoffman. That is not Chicago. I don't care how many times you advertise it as Chicago. It is not Chicago. Come in the city, buddy. It's all right. We're waiting for you, man. We're waiting for you. Don't worry about all that dodgy stuff happening on the west side. Come in the city, baby. We're ready.
This might have to be my first Chicago trip this year. All out. That sounds pretty lit. That sounds really dope.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, All Out has reached the point of kind of earning the United Center. I think. I think it's, it feels each year like AEW's biggest pay-per-view, for better or worse. That last year was definitely the most newsworthy, but
yeah, they've outgrown the Now Arena, man. I
Totally.
Yeah,
it's time.
So that's and of course, like the Now Arena, I talked about this on Day After Dynamite, but it is, it's a space that I think the entire wrestling landscape should be thankful for. That that was all in, right? Like that kicked off everything was at that arena. And so I fully understand why they were loyal to it as long as they were. But at the same time, it's the event has just outgrown it. The weekend's outgrown it. I think that kind of everybody would benefit from that in thinking about some of the people I talked to about it on the indie side of things would also prefer to be in main Chicago. And so...
Yeah, all of those people that come here every year and they're like, "Hey, where should I stay or what should I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing in the city because it's not in the city."
Yeah,
tourists want to see the city. They don't want to see Hoffman Estates. There's nothing in Hoffman Estates.
Yeah, and nobody wants to have to drive for 30 minutes or wherever to get to the venue.
I will say I'll have some memories of Hoffman Estates having been there every year. In that, I was thinking about it the other day. Like as soon as I heard that they weren't going to be at Now Arena anymore, my initial thought was, oh man, like I know Hoffman Estates. Like I definitely get the same hotel every time. I know my way around all of that. I could get places on foot because I know where everything was. Like I always stayed walking distance from where GCW ran their shows. And so I knew exactly what to do and how to get there. Gonna miss it just a little bit, but other than that, it's fine.
Nah, man, come in the city, boy.
Yeah, I know. Look, I will say that doing Forbidden Door last year, way easier, way faster, way quicker. Like everything just made sense, except parking. Parking in downtown Chicago was awful, but other than that,
Downtown in a big city, that makes sense.
I mean, listen. Every time they announce Chicago shows here, there are three different reactions for me. There's Wintrust. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, in the city, I can just go make an easy commute, easy peasy. United Center, oh man, we're lit. Hoffman's like, I mean, it's gonna be a fun show, man.
It's gonna be a trek.
Like, man, listen, we're ready.
I'm tired of y'all still, regardless.
Listen, y'all had a whole California
No,
road tour this
it's
year,
still
man.
pretty lit. Like for the West Coast, honestly, I can't
Oh
be
yeah.
mad at it.
I mean, I'm excited. I don't. I mean, I try to go to LA as often as possible. What did I take? 3 trips to LA last year? Yeah, 3 trips. I took 3 trips to LA last year. It's my home. Like no matter what, when I get to go back to Los Angeles,
LA,
I
baby.
always get. I always have these childhood memories because I was telling Denise that we were driving in a car and she was driving, and I'm not going to give any commentary on Denise's driving, but I will say that because I left LA when I was a kid, I always have these memories of palm trees that I associate with my childhood and like strictly with my childhood. Like every time I go back, I feel like a kid again. And so I'm like really excited to go back this week's
That's dope.
Mania and it just feel like a kid. That's it. Like
We about to be outside, your boys. You about to see Phil and Reg dreads all over this place, boy. We outside.
Shout
LA,
out to
Los
Denise, by the
Angeles.
way. Got the new gig this week. I think she started
Oh
today,
yeah,
right?
shout
She
out to
started today.
Denise.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really dope gig. There's some legends that she's going to be working alongside Busted Open Radio, so that's super dope. What a great gig.
Yeah, she started today. She hosted with Dave LaGreca, and she's hosting on Busted Open on Saturdays, right before this show.
So cool.
So yeah, that's very good for her. I mean, and commitment too, because she's 6 a.m. On
LA 6 a.m.
Saturdays.
too?
Yeah, LA
Oh,
6 a.m. because
man.
it's 9 a.m. Eastern. So
Yeah. Have I mentioned what's happening the day that I get to LA? And it's going to change the trajectory of how I act in LA?
You have not.
Chicago Bulls are playing the Los Angeles Lakers that day. Let the Bulls win that game, man.
is it in LA?
I don't remember. They play back to back, so I think one of them's in LA. I don't know. I don't remember if it's the 26th game or the 29th game that's in LA.
So I need to find another homie to hang out with that night if the Bulls win, because I'm not. I can't be associated with this. I'm California. I'm Cali, baby.
I just pulled it up. So Wednesday
Join
the
the Bulls.
29th, it's in Chicago.
Okay.
Tomorrow is when they play in LA.
Yeah, I could see them losing both those games. So
Yeah.
I could easily see them losing both those games.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Nuggets today have the Bucks, so I'm not excited about that. It's a home game. I was considering
tough out
going,
there.
and then I was seeing tickets going for like $2,500, and I went, "Ooh, better only get one." No, I'm not going.
I'm looking at you, Pat Bev. Though Pat Bev keeps saying he circled that game on his calendar. So I don't know, man. Bulls have been better with Pat Bev though, so I can't, I can't hate on them. But looking at you, I'm sure your boy Reeves will shoot like 50 free throws.
Oh, but I can't believe we spent 15 minutes and got away from Jason's question. What do you think the best match of the ROH pay-per-view will be? I think, easily you can just say it's going to be Commander Vikingo. Like, I think that will probably be the most, like, crowd-pleasing, exciting match. But I think, honestly, the tag team ladder match is the one that I'm most intrigued by. But also, there's an opportunity to really create some moments here. I think that I wasn't sure that Eddie Kingston was going to win, but now I think he's going to. I think just watching ROH, like I felt like Claudio had got to cook better than he ever has.
Totally.
In that promo the sit down promo that he had with Eddie Kingston. And so there's a piece of me that's like, oh, I'm not ready for Claudio's reign to be over because he's just getting his feet under him as a heel. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to make a moment for Eddie that he's probably had coming his whole career. And also, I think that the landscape at the top of Ring of Honor is better on the heel side than on the face side.
It is.
And so I think there's better opponents for Eddie Kingston than there are for Claudio.
Agreed.
I think Claudio's gonna win. I do. I think Claudio's gonna win.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what's gonna be the best match? I don't know if it's gonna be the best match, but at this moment the match I'm probably looking forward to the most is probably Vikingo versus Commander. But man, Big Utes taking on Shibata could actually steal the show.
Definitely. That's crazy. The whole card is pretty crazy. Like the ladder match is pretty insane, and I'm interested in seeing what happens with Eddie Kingston. I think, as Will was saying, him winning, there's a lot more opportunity, I think, to elevate some dudes if he wins. Because I think, like, if you get like Roosh over to be one of his opponents, like seeing Roosh these past couple of weeks on Ring of Honor television, I'm like, I like this tag team, but like him as like a singles mean badass dude against Eddie Kingston, I think will be super lit. But
and I think Joe's losing too, so you could also do like you could do Joe versus
Joe too. Yeah, exactly. That's
Kingston.
What I was gonna say was probably my most anticipated match with Samoa Joe and Mark Briscoe, just because the history. It's Mark Briscoe, like Samoa Joe has been on a run, and that's also like Mark Briscoe could win, but also the same lines of you were saying about Claudio. The way that Joe's been cooking as the TV champ is just like, man, maybe we should continue this because he's been on fire. So
right, but at the same time, I think moving Joe up to the main event, to the title picture, I think
him and Eddie Kingston is fire. So
I think there's stuff you could do with that, but I feel like Claudio will probably transition out anyway. I think he's a good guy to like kind of establish Ring of Honor, but at the same time, you know, he's got BCC stuff happening right now. You know, the fact that as soon as the BCC laid out Kenny this week, my thoughts immediately went to Kenny versus Yuta. That sounds dope. Kenny versus Claudio. That sounds dope. Kenny versus Moxley. We got to revisit that with like as soon as they all laid hands on him, I thought every single direction here is good.
All of them.
Oh man. You know, I've been waiting to put this to rest for a while. Since I heard you on this podcast say that Jericho is the second best heel on the show. I'm ready to start that dialogue, buddy. BCC is the best heel faction in AEW right now.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Although we'll talk about a few things from that because I do want to keep reading. Jennifer says, "Sorry for missing last week. Hectic month. Much love, gents. Keep smashing it and enjoy next week. So much wrestling, good wrestling on deck. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you.
Jennifer.
Great wrestling this week. Man, Leo versus Hiromu was amazing. If you guys didn't watch it, great match. Oh my god, great match. It's everything I wanted it to be, other than Leo losing. But I think he's gonna get back at some point. But pretty good show all around. I mean, I'm sure the bigger news is that Sonata is the 2023 New Japan Cup winner. And he's like hanging out with guys that don't look like his friends. Like, why are you hanging out with those guys, man? Like, you belong over there with LIJ. I get you needed to go and do something different, but it just looks weird. I just was looking around like, what are you doing with those guys? But yeah, great fucking match. Of course, great main event of AEW this week.
Oh yeah,
it's
great wrestling.
Talk about that here shortly too. Yeah. Curtis PhD says, wanted to send some love. I'll be at the St. Louis and Milwaukee shows coming up, front row. Awesome. Was wondering if you think FTR will have their match this week. If so, doesn't that kind of overshadow Adam Cole?
Maybe.
I think they will, but I'm interested in why it hasn't been announced if they're not.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean,
Could be announced tonight on Rampage.
Yeah, Rampage tonight will kind of lay out some stuff. I know a lot of backstage stuff was shot for Rampage this week because I was at the show, and the stuff that was shot in the arena kind of ran a little short. That, you know, they did the Layla Gray versus Taya. Yeah, the Taya match, and which they never showed us the setup for that in the arena. So when I watched it at home, I'm like, oh, there's a whole backstage segment with this. Like I hadn't seen that at all.
Because Tony won't play anything on the damn screens ever. Still, play something on the screen.
We saw the Ricky Starks promo, and we saw the stuff with Don Callis and Kenny. Well, all of that played, but that one did not.
That is one thing that the World Wrestling Federation does good is they play like when you're sitting in the crowd like a fucking dumb loser, they're playing something on the screen to keep you in the match, entertained at the show. But Tony Khan just will not.
Oh yeah, I mean, I will say
why this happened though, right? because you in that rant was like, I didn't come here to watch stuff on the screen, Vince McMahon. And Tony Khan probably saw that rant and was like, I got you, Reg. I won't make you do that in my show.
Okay, all right, Phil. Okay, all right. You got
No,
it.
and I will say that that is like the weirdest thing though that WWE does when you're at those shows. And by the way, I'm going to WWE tomorrow, taking my kids and their friends tomorrow. So I am like chaperoning 4 kids to a WWE show tomorrow. But the one thing that I hate about it, I don't even hate it. It's just weird. But when so for those of you who haven't been to WWE shows, peeling back a few things, but when somebody comes down to the ring and then it goes to commercial break, what we see in the arena is them coming down to the ring. They get in the ring, and then they just stand there while they play ads on the screen. And they play video packages and promos, and the wrestler just has to like sit there in the ring, like, okay. And then sometimes, of course, they'll then go to a backstage segment, and that person is still just standing there in the ring, and then they'll come back and they're like, oh yeah, and still in the ring from 10 minutes ago when their entrance started.
You forgot this match was happening.
That did give us one of the best Kevin Owens moments last year of him standing in the ring and watching that stuff showing on the screen. He's just like, they already showed this stuff. They already showed this.
Yeah, it's a weird setup because I think the TV viewer is supposed to be under the impression that the entrance just like happened and they're waiting, but like they show all that stuff to the crowd, and so they're just standing there watching that, and it's always been weird to me because that wasn't always the thing, but I know that it's part of the way that the show tries to hook viewers is, hey, if you're excited about this match, stay through these commercials and everything else we have to show, and then when we come back, you'll get the other opponent.
Dumb business model.
I don't know. Maybe it works. I don't know. Let's see, though. We got Meet Normus says, basketball sucks for me. My team are the Wizards. Hoyas and Tar Heels from North Carolina. Pray for me. It's rough out here. Does Chicago Muffin Punk swallow his pride or continue rage tweeting? There's a piece of me that thinks that he knew better within minutes of posting what he posted. Of
course.
And was like, I don't know, just complete rejection. Somebody
listen, I'm petty and sensitive. I've sent the text message off and been like, damn, I should not have said that immediately after it happened. So like, it's life, man.
Well, hey, iPhone, you can unsend now. So there's that. As long as you're sending to another iPhone.
Oh, I see.
J Blood, yeah, if you've seen green bubbles, make sure you're committed.
Do you really want to send this? Yes or no?
Yeah, but blue you can undo.
Okay.
So
I like it.
J Blood says, shout out to the power of wrestling fans for starting the most consequential rumors in wrestling history. Where would journalism be without us?
I knew it. I knew it.
Fans!
The fans are gonna really think they're somebody now because Brian Alvarez said they started this rumor.
That clip is gonna be one of the greatest things to come out of this week. It's just him yelling fans.
Yeah, definitely.
James Stalling says, hey guys, thoughts on CM Punk's comments this week? We'll get to them. There's a lot to get there. Chi-Town Spurs says, Ibu mentioning wrestler burner accounts and like 20 people dropping off was hilarious.
Yo.
I mean, look, it's a true thing that like pretty much everybody in wrestling has one. Because there's certain things that you can't say or do or be seen caught liking from your regular account. Some wrestlers don't care, but
I know there'll be wrestlers in my comments talking shit all the time.
Yeah,
from the burner accounts.
The funniest thing about it wasn't the burner accounts are leaving. It was just one wrestler coming in at the beginning of the spaces, seeing what we were talking about, and immediately leaving.
No time for this shit.
Yeah, you're not gonna get me. You're not gonna incriminate me. I was never here.
Yeah. Let's see. Dream Ninja 77 says, chances Sheamus's chest bleeds during the Intercontinental Championship match at Mania. Did the crowd turn Charlotte last night? Is Reg still high on Spot Fu after that match and the Vikingo Commander announcement? Of course, he's still high on spot foo.
Hella high, the highest I've been in a long time. That Commander and Vikingo match is gonna blow my mind. Gonna be there live and gonna cry probably. So
The boys is going to be in the building, bro.
yeah,
We got to talk about that Charlotte promo though. So I have been quite confused by the babyface heel alignment in general with Charlotte and Rhea. Like it's felt pretty straightforward when Dominic's there, because it's like, okay, crowd hates Dominic. He's probably one of the most hated figures in WWE right now. I would even say he's probably more hated than Roman in the sense that I'm not more over, and don't think I'm saying that. But more hated, I think, is
He has more legitimate heat right now, I think.
yeah,
Right.
he has more legitimate heat.
because a lot of people like Roman.
Oh, for sure.
thing. Yeah.
Right, and I think Roman has more heat than he has had in the
Oh, yeah,
past
I think
2 or
this is
3
the most-
years now.
I think this is the most heat Roman's had of his run, because for a long time he's been loved. But I think I think the absolute difference is if Roman said "acknowledge me," there'd be a lot of cheers, and if Dominic said "acknowledge me," that man would be booed to high heaven.
Not
So-
for nothing, that angle was really good last night too with him and his dad. I liked it.
Yeah, so I think when Dominic's involved, it's pretty cut and dry. You have Rhea's a heel and Charlotte's a babyface. But when he's not involved, which this week he wasn't really involved with anything they were doing, it became a little bit harder to define. Like Rhea's promo felt a little bit in between. Like she was really cutting down Charlotte in a way that you probably don't want a heel exposing a babyface that way. I had somebody say to me this week, how can you call somebody washed who's the champion? Like, that doesn't even make sense. I know that that's probably how a lot of people feel about Charlotte, but like in the context of the show, that doesn't quite make any sense that, hey, this person's the champ. How can they be washed? But then she faced Bayley and really worked babyface in that match. And like the match saw Bayley get egg on her face and really made really made Rhea look kind of triumphant in that moment. And then Charlotte comes out to cut that promo, and I think Charlotte was supposed to be endearing herself to the fans, but once they started hitting those whats on her, you saw her entire demeanor change. And she's like, are you guys really wetting me? This is important to me. And like when she said that, I think the crowd really saw it as, well, when somebody says that, that means we what harder.
Yeah.
And she was like trying to talk her way around
acknowledge
it.
it.
What 101? Come on.
Never acknowledge it. Once you
What
acknowledge it, then
101?
you're gonna encourage them to keep doing it. I don't think the fans turned her heel. I just think that she is naturally heel.
That's
I don't know why they ever try to make her baby face at this point. It's just not believable. She's just not a believable baby face. There were certain things she was saying. I mean, first of all, she came out and gave that graduation speech last night of fear. What is fear? I'm like, what is this, man? Like, I'm not buying into this. Like, nostalgia, nepotism. What is nepotism anyway? It's like, yo, Charlotte. Like, I feel you, but I just want to know why you're gonna beat Rhea at the pay per view. I don't. I don't know what the rest of this is. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad promo, but the whole time I was just like, this woman should always be healed. She's not a convincing baby face.
She's legit just like her dad. There'd be times where he'd be a baby face, but like in North Carolina. But all the other times we want to boo Ric Flair. He's telling us every week that he's better than us. So I don't want to cheer a fool that's saying he's better than us. And every week Charlotte comes out and says she's the best, she's the queen, she's all this. I want to boo this lady because she has all these great things. That's how pro wrestling works.
Yeah. But I did feel like I don't think she was supposed to have the demeanor toward the crowd that she had, but once they started the what chants, you could see, I think that was a natural response for her.
It's like, annoying, man. The what chants suck.
You could tell that the thing that I took away from it, because people were like, oh, well, you know, the crowd definitely took her out of her mode. I'm like, nah, she looked very much annoyed. Like, she looked legitimately annoyed. Like, shut up when I'm talking.
No, the look on her face when she said, are you wedding me? Like, this is important to
like,
me.
I don't have a lot of time for this, you guys. Shut it down. I'm trying to get this promo through.
Yeah. The what chant? I hate that it's been 22 years
Oh my God.
of what.
The worst ever.
And
Thanks
it
for
has
nothing, Stone Cold.
look, that clearly wasn't his intention when he started it. Like you could see that I always say what in its original form was dope. I loved what, but it was
Jumped
how
the shark.
it was how he did it. The fans just do it as a like, we don't like you, we don't like
We're
what you're
bored,
saying.
or
Half the
racist.
time it can be like borderline racist when it's
Yeah.
like, oh, somebody has an accent. What?
Mhm.
But the
Yeah, but I don't even
but
think that they do it when they don't like anything. Sometimes they just start it just to start it now to see if they could get to a wrestler, and Charlotte took the bait.
yeah, no, I don't like the what chant at all.
Hate it.
And but I mean, there are wrestlers in the business now younger than the what chant
They are, yeah.
who have
Wayne's
never
only
seen.
17, or you know what I mean?
Oh,
He's
Nick
not
Wayne.
this
God,
old.
I had a thought about Nick Wayne this week, thinking about the fact that that man is as old as my first podcast.
Yeah. That's crazy. A man that wrestles really, really, really good. It's
The
crazy.
first wrestling podcast I recorded, first episode is still out there, is from June 18th, 2005. Nick Wayne's birthday, I think, is June 10th, 2005.
That's crazy. 2005. That just doesn't even sound right. Somebody being born then.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nick Wayne.
Yeah, shout out Nick Wayne.
Him and Swerve got a really big match coming up. I think it's on the 8th.
Yeah.
And Defy Wrestling for the Defy Wrestling Championship. It's going to be a big deal. Their last Defy match was one of the best matches of the year, and so I'm sure this will be just as good.
Yeah, I still think as great as everything Swerve has done with AEW has been, the promo he cut after he beat Nick Wayne is still one of my favorite things he's done since he left WWE.
Yeah, that was really good.
So he's got a segment on Rampage this week.
Sweet.
Swerve does. So you guys will see that. It'll make
This
sense.
is Rampage, baby. I forgot to ask about my big homie before the podcast started. We can't talk about it.
Saturday
Spoilers.
Rampage.
Yeah, it's a Saturday Rampage.
No
So
spoilers.
Yep, no spoilers. Although I did complain on Day After Dynamite this week, and I'm going to issue a second complaint. AEW merch people that
How can't they get it right? What is going on over there?
I don't know.
Like legit, that's the number one complaint I always hear about the merch at the shows. Like, what are y'all doing? Get it right over here. What's going on?
I did some digging, and I heard pretty reliably that there were only 24 acclaimed foam hands brought to the show.
24, William Washington?
24. Yes, and the
What the
acclaimed
hell is that?
the acclaimed main evented Rampage. Hell, the acclaimed was probably the hottest act on the
They
show.
are.
And you know, they did the whole Kansas scissor, 'cause they're in Kansas City. And they closed out the show, them and Billy Gunn, and they sent everybody home happy. But like the fact that there were barely any foam hands for anybody to get to do it, I thought was a mistake.
Big missed opportunity.
Like, if anything, the thing I would be working on with them, like, I'd be in Brock Lesnar mode. You remember when Suplex City first started, and you could get a Suplex City with your city's name on it every single show you went to? I feel like that should be the goal with the Acclaimed. It should be, you know, they've already been doing they did the Scissormento in Sacramento. They did the Scissor Zona in Arizona, and they were Kansas Scissor. They
San
should be
Fran Scissor too.
Yeah. They should be making shirts with all of that merch, and they should be selling those in the building every single city that the Acclaimed goes to.
1000%.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on there.
Speaking of which, I keep being more amazed just how over this guy Cody Rhodes is, and just this guy really did it. And watching SmackDown this week and looking in that crowd, I was like, it's a lot of Cody shirts in that crowd, man.
Oh yeah, they're saying his merch levels are really, really high.
Ooh,
And
that boy over there getting that cake.
yep, I know, right? Like I have a feeling you're gonna
Ain't never going back.
You're gonna one day see just a whole sea of Cody shirts And
Shout out to Cody, man. He worked fucking hard for this shit, man.
No, I'm happy for Cody.
It's gonna look like the GOP national convention out there with all the red, white, and blue shirts. I'm sorry, that new shirt. Look, I love Cody. He's one of my favorite characters on TV. But his merch,
that shirt makes me uncomfortable.
Dude, be looking like them shirts you buy at that you see at Walmart. That
look like a shirt of somebody that would step out of a big giant truck that I would avoid. And if I saw that shirt, I'd walk across the street because I can't trust people that wear shirts that look like that. I'm sorry, Cody. I'm a big Cody, huge Cody fan, but those shirts make me anxious.
Hey, I don't know. Way. Every time I've seen Cody slander on this show at any point, I seen things change. Ever since dude sent us that super chat that the Cody Cutter ain't it. That Cody Cutter has looked better and better every week. Like the highlight of it, it looks amazing now. And I'm like,
hasn't looked bad.
What's going on? What's going on? Is he looking at the comments? He's like, no, let me fix this. Let me get the vibe right.
No, but shout out to Cody though. He fucking did it. He's main eventing WrestleMania. There's only like a handful of fools that could say that they did that for the World Championship against the hottest act in all of pro wrestling. Like that's.
I mean, how many people in general can say that Cody can say that they signed with WWE and within a year were main eventing WrestleMania? There's really a small few. I think like Piper's one of them because Piper like signed with WWE and then WrestleMania launched, and so that was so he got the main event the first WrestleMania. And what, Flair? And no, Flair wasn't in the main event. He had the title match, but he wasn't in the main event that year. Yep. So like really thinking about it, Big Show did. He signed in '99 and he was main event at WrestleMania 2000. That's really it.
Yeah, that's like,
it.
That's crazy.
He's having the time of his life too. You gotta love it. The guy is he went there. He's getting everything he wanted. And it looks like he's actually having fun. Like that smirk he had on his face when he came out before they did the whoa this week. Nah, man, that dude's having the time of his life, man.
And they always can find a fan. They always zoom in on a fan who knows all the words to Kingdom. And and you just see him just belting it out. Do it all to get them off the feet.
Nah, Chris Jericho started that, though. No. Nobody ever sang a song before that. Judas is the first time anybody ever sang a song. No, but for real, shout out to I saw the ticket sale for WrestleMania, and ooh, them boys are moving some seats over there. They're about to have a double sellout, and that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Shit.
It's WrestleMania, and it's feeling like a really great WrestleMania. I hope this doesn't turn out like WrestleMania 26, because like WrestleMania 26 was that show I was like super hyped for. I'm like, every match on this card has an incredible build, and everything had just a solid story going into it, and I remember being let down by nearly everything on that show.
That was my first live WrestleMania, and I can't remember. Bret Hart's last match was there, and Shawn Michaels.
That was Bret Hart's return match. Bret wrestled after
match. That. Oh, that was awful.
Yeah, he became U.S. champion after that. But
we don't talk about that.
But like Vince had like obviously the biggest build ever. That went back 13 years at that point. You had Edge and Jericho that had that had a long story, and that match disappointed. Cena and Batista was a good match, but like I don't know, I just would have expected more. And then Shawn and Taker was good. It wasn't as good as the year before, but I remember just feeling when I walked out of that show like, damn, I was hot for everything on that show, and I felt like it was only okay as a WrestleMania. So. But I think I feel like Hunter has the ability right now to get into takeover mode, and he knows, as far as these shows are concerned, how to make sure that at least the majority of things on these shows deliver.
Yeah, I think a lot of these matches are going to over deliver compared to the builds, because some of these builds have not been good. So I think some people are going to go into this with low expectations for some of these matches, and I think they're going to excel.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to be
the 10 WrestleManias that I've been to, and how many of them were good? And I averaged 2 of them were really good. That's it. out of 10.
Who do you think is going to be the remaining tag team in the women's tag team match?
So right now it's Natty and Shotzi and Raquel, Liv, and Team MMA. What is the last one? It's got to be a Raw team because there's no Raw team.
Yeah, I think probably. I'm guessing like Candice and Mia Yim would probably be a good pairing.
Yeah, are they going anywhere with this Candice and Nikki storyline that they kept putting on TV and then did nothing with?
So I don't know who ends up in that match, but
yeah, it's got to be a Raw team because there's no Raw women's tag team in there. So
Piper and somebody maybe.
Yeah,
Alexa
Piper,
Bliss now that she's unmasked from the Masked Singer.
it's not going to be Alexa. CJ would like that, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna be Alexa.
Let's see. Deontay says, "Morning, Graps fam. I'm excited for Sakura Genesis and Stardom show on 25th. All love as always. Just got done at work. 5K made in 2 hours at breakfast. Hell yeah. Mania around the corner. Wishing love to all. Heart."
Sakura Genesis show does look really good. They announced the IWGP Women's title match for that, which will be Mercedes versus Asumi.
Are you telling that to Mercedes herself?
Yes, Mercedes. Asumi. and Hasuki. I'm looking forward to that. I initially thought it was going to be Mercedes versus Asumi, but Hazuki had such a great match at the last pay-per-view. I'm glad she got at it.
That's dope.
What do you guys think of Trinity Star? That she trademarked a new name, and she trademarked it for wrestling purposes.
I hope that she goes somewhere and proves that she's a better worker than a lot of people think. Because I think that a lot of people have underappreciated her for a long time.
You know where I want to see Trinity? In Impact.
You know what though?
I know that sounds crazy as hell, me saying Impact, but that division and what she could do over there, and Mickey's over there, and Jordan's over there, and Killer Kelly's over there, and they just got Jody Threat. Like, I think she'd be pretty hot over there in Impact if I'm keeping it a stack with y'all.
You know what though? It's interesting because I think some of the dislike for Trinity as a worker, I think, came from just the era she got started under, because people forget that she was FCW champion, because when she got called up, she was just a Funkadactyl.
Right.
And so people didn't necessarily associate her with like, oh, she was somebody that there was some wrestling desires behind. They just saw her as, oh, she's a dancer and she didn't come here to work. And that's a shame because that was just a couple years before everybody else from NXT got called up. And so she's more seen as part of that Divas era. And I think she has a lot. I think she knows that. And I think she's always felt like she's had something to prove in regard to that. Like she and Charlotte cooked last year when they had that main event on SmackDown for the SmackDown Women's title. And I feel like pretty much since 2016, she's been trying to prove to people that, no, I deserve this. I deserve a run because I came here to wrestle. I saw some people going like, well, why isn't she just going by Trinity Fatu? I don't know, because that's a last name associated with the bloodline. Like,
I don't even know if she's allowed to. Like, if
it's a real name. She can,
but still, like that. As the heritage and the history, I don't even know, even by marriage, if she's allowed to be like, I'm Trinity Fatu, just because like you ain't, you know what I mean? Like you are by marriage, but like
I wouldn't like if I were her, I wouldn't even want to. I wouldn't want my act to be associated with something that doesn't tie into my character at all.
Exactly.
Like, and I think it's
a great name. But
yeah,
no.
but no. So yeah, she trademarked Trinity Star. I think that's probably going to work out pretty well for her. I know people are kind of ragging on the name because people always hate new stuff, but give it a little bit, you'll adjust.
Trinity is a better name than Naomi. It is.
Yes.
I always thought I said that from jump because of the fact that a lot of people knew her as Trinity anyway. When you think about
Total Divas,
a lot of people know her as Trinity.
And then, Trinity is just a cool name regardless.
It is.
Like, you should be Trinity.
Yeah, I mean, we not only got that news, We got Kyrie free agent news out there. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
But if you're tempting me with Kyrie matches in the U.S., I'll take them because that was the big appeal of her winning the IWGP Women's Championship at first, is the idea that she'd be in the U.S. I don't know where she's going. I don't know what she plans to do in the U.S., but I don't know. Give me the matches. When she said give me Jamie Hayter, I was like,
Yeah,
yes,
we need
give
that.
her Jamie Hayter.
We need that like right now.
Match.
That's what's great about both of these women is there's so many matches in America and in Japan, everywhere that they could have. That it's just like the possibilities are endless. It's a great time for women's wrestling right now, and all these free agents just moving about and along. And Mercedes isn't really locked into anything long term. Like there's so much room for amazing stuff to happen. It's gonna be a great year.
Yeah. I was a little bit saddened because I saw the report that I knew was true as soon as I saw it, that Dakota and Io had talked about going back to Stardom, and I was like, why did they just go? Why did they just go there? And that's, not to hate on what they're doing there now. It's just, I just want to see Io wrestling in Japan again. I'm sorry, I do.
I'm like, I like that they're having this big WrestleMania match. Trish and Lita's there, like it's a big deal, but there was a lot over there.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
Io in the Dome challenging for the IWGP Women's Championship. It just seems like it needs to happen.
Right. 1,000%.
And I'm never going to give up on that dream. Sorry. Until this company does what I want and gives me the match I want and gives me Asuka and Io, I'm not going to stop banging on the table and saying, give me Io at the Dome challenging for that title.
Okay. They could not be signed for that long. You think they signed more than a year? Probably, huh?
I don't know.
Mets fan for life says, can we talk about how much Cody loves his catchphrase? I mean, it is one of those things that that's why he remains like one of the most impressive jumps to me, because he literally kept everything. Like literally the first, so what do you guys want to talk about? Like that's literally a thing he said at AEW.
Right.
And he kept it all.
Yeah.
But he definitely loves that catchphrase.
I mean, but that's why he fits in so well there. He's just good at that kind of stuff. Like,
Yes.
I just think it's just a perfect fit.
Let's see. Evangelina Gray says, the thing that gets me about the Punk stuff was that his positivity tour was going so well. Poor Dax was working overtime, and this happened to LMAO.
Dax is on.
What? Was this
Dax
a positivity
is on
tour,
the
though?
It really did feel for a minute.
It
like
felt
really
a little bit better for a little
going
bit.
into Wednesday afternoon. I will say that it really did feel like things were moving in the right direction. And, of course, we'll talk about the fact that the Fightful Select story that Sean dropped mentioned that there had been talks as far as Punk and Tony were concerned, that there were talks about, who knows? Things seemed to be moving in a positive direction. I think that I hate that Punk couldn't resist.
Oh, no.
And I say this because, and what I mean by this is that was a Dave Meltzer post. That was a Dave Meltzer post that got screenshotted that really hadn't gone very far before Punk responded to it.
We could have
I
moved
feel like
past
Punk's response had so much more reach than that Dave Meltzer forum post did.
Totally.
And I think that if Punk had just been able to resist for a moment, I think we would have moved past the Dave Meltzer post by then. And the fact that he could not resist, I think, and it's a very CM Punk thing, because I know people came down on me yesterday because I had tweeted out the clip of Punk saying the apology needs to be as loud as the disrespect. Because, look, as far as Punk is concerned, my ideal scenario is that I just want to see CM Punk back in the fold, and I want to see because I think that roster that Tony was on his way to having would have been one of the all-time great rosters, and I think having CM Punk there improves that. That said, I still think no matter what happened, you talk about Hangman dropping those lines in that promo, you talk about CM Punk calling out Hangman on TV. all of that, I still don't feel there's anything worse than the gripe bomb, the media scrum. I think that's the worst thing that happened, and I think that's the biggest offense of all. And like everything else, I think probably could have been handled behind the scenes, but once Punk took it there, and that was the worst offense. And I think that AEW feels that way. They feel like no matter what else happened, that's the one thing that
we all saw that.
That's the one thing we can't take back, because that's the piece that everybody saw transpire in front of the world, and that's the biggest offense. And it's like, God damn it, Punk. Why can you not, in these moments, resist going to the public with these things? And the things he said there's some valid concerns. I think that, obviously, if he was asked to work hurt, that's a problem.
Big problem.
I'm going to disagree that this was a positivity tour, because my man was not being positive throughout most of this stuff. He was walking around like, yo, y'all think y'all doing numbers? Look at these numbers when I was there. Does that sound positive to you? When MJF got that award and he put that comment under that, does that look positive? No, he was still getting his shit off then. It's just that people had grown accustomed to not seeing him on TV anymore, and people started missing him. Yeah, it's not that this was a positivity tour. It was just people were looking around like, hey, man, he might have had a point, man. Some of the points was kind of valid that he said here. It's just the way that he executed it. Or, hey, man, maybe he was right about this. Or, hey, man, maybe this show isn't as great when he's not there. So I don't agree that this has been positive. I think he's been outside. Like, even looking at him at the New Japan show, he knows that they have a partnership with New Japan.
And the story that New Japan didn't know
he knows they have a partnership with New Japan, and he just showed up like, "Hey, I'm just here to enjoy the show, guys." Like, what's
I'm Lars's friend. No, you're CM Punk, fool.
I'm here as Lars's +1. Like, yo, again, like I think people trying to turn this into the goodwill tour. It wasn't a goodwill tour. This is still Punk being Punk, but people were enjoying it. That's what it was. The only difference is people did not like this. Like everything else, people were kind of looking at as tongue-in-cheek and laughing at it.
That makes a lot of sense. I think you're right. When it starts to get like, because he added in, like all the other stuff was like, I don't want to say playful, but it's a little more on the line. And when he goes over the line, which he did, that's when people are like, actually, he's kind of wilding.
I mean, are we going to get into the IG post? Because the IG post in itself, I keep telling people that this is the thing that people keep pissing him off with. You guys never stop doing it. And you keep expecting this guy to react differently. And he keeps telling y'all, like, nah, stop leaking rumors about me. Stop saying things about me that are not true. Right. And the thing is, people are never going to do it because, as we saw this week, CM Punk rumors equals clicks. Yeah. How many times did we see that screenshot of that IG post everywhere? Because everybody knows that Punk stuff equals engagement. And he knows that, and I think to his point,
hell, I know that. I look at the screen, look at the title image for this episode. I had originally put out. It was originally going to have Vikingo and Kenny on one side, and then Cody and Roman on the other side. And then I'm like, nope, I got to put Punk front and center.
Some of our best episodes, biggest numbers are around CM Punk. Like that's
he knows that. He knows that, but that's why I think he is more annoyed with people that he thinks at this point should know better. But of course, at this point, like, come on, man, you know that a lot of people in the wrestling space are not going to do things that are ethical or morally right. And yes, it is silly that people are running with rumors from message boards or stuff. Like, I thought it was silly when people were running with that thing that was saying that he didn't want to lose to Hangman. Right. And so I think this is what it is for him. It's like, stop running with these stupid things. And they all seem to be coming from a specific place. And that's why I think he made the point to go, yeah, Dave's a liar, because all of this stuff, every time he comes out and does something, or every time it looks like, there's pro-Punk sentiment out there, it seems like something negative comes from over there. And I'm not saying that Dave's doing it on purpose. I'm not saying that, anything. It does seem like people
Looks a
are
type of
leaking
way.
stuff on purpose, and the timing is very funny, but whatever. I just think that he keeps looking at this stuff like, nah. And I think that he's been saying nah for a minute, and people probably are sending him stuff, if I had to guess. And he probably is looking at it like, nah, that's not true. And I think this has been stuff piling up for a while. And this was the one where he finally was like, enough, man. I didn't even want to do it. Like, why are y'all picking me out to be the difficult one here? And I didn't want to do it. I showed the work and did what I was supposed to do. And you guys are still railing on me for something I didn't do.
Yeah, I get it. I get why he responded.
All
but-
be rectified. I think these are all just words. These are all just rumors. I think if everybody has a good, nice sit down and we just say, hey, we're going to fucking do business, you guys, fucking whatever, I think this could still work out. I know it sounds crazy.
I mean, at this juncture right now, I know of some significant top people in AEW furious about that post.
Is the one of them the leader of the Jericho Appreciation Society?
I mean, he responded in joking fashion. He responded with the
He
Matt
wasn't
Hardy.
joking.
I mean, even he responded with the delete thing. Like,
He was
hold on,
not
I'll just
joking.
say it in our group chat.
Yeah,
He was
I
not
mean,
joking.
even if we're getting into the elephant in the room and the Jericho stuff and how he called Jericho stooge in there, and I saw a lot of people going,
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Why would he even do that to Jericho? I mean, Jericho been instigating for a minute, bro. Like,
Yeah.
let's not act like Jericho didn't call this guy cancer, and like, come on, bro. Like, it's not like he's just saying this unprovoked to Jericho. Like, Jericho had the dude that he went on a whole rant about in that room about on TV wrestle him to pop people. You think he was happy about that at home? No.
Do you see Reg's face when he read what I typed?
It's tough out there. I don't
Well, I mean,
yeah.
so all the people that are named in the thing, there are clearly the defined things are David's a liar, Jericho's a stooge. People had issues with the mock stuff, and I read the mock stuff different than most people did. I saw people like, oh, what does he mean he was refusing to lose to him? And blah, 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 blah. And, why is he coming at Mox like this? And I didn't read it necessarily as him saying that Mox was a problem. And I said this on Twitter, and people were like, oh, I know you're a fan, but hear me out. I'm not saying that I don't think he had a problem with Mox. I'm saying that if he is rebutting that post, and he's saying, hey, this was his idea. I didn't even like the idea. I didn't even like the idea of him not losing before the pay-per-view. I just went along with it because the boss said this is what he wants to do. I got what the gist of what he was saying. It was just, you said too much. Why are you adding the rest of the sauce to it that didn't need to be there? And
it felt like Mox caught a stray, kind of. It wasn't like this was Mox's fault. It was just like Mox is part of what was wrong.
Yeah, so I don't think he was saying it as, oh, well, this is it wasn't my fault, it was Mox's fault. I think he was saying, like, no, this was Mox's idea. I didn't even want to do it at first.
I can't believe he ain't seen a Rocky movie, though. That's
As someone who's never seen a Star Wars movie, a fucking Harry Potter movie, or any other nerd movie, I understand. It's easy. And when you're obsessed with pro wrestling and all you ever watch is pro wrestling, it's easy not to watch movies that people like. Because I was watching WrestleMania 3, bro.
But like, honestly, that's where I get confused because I feel like, I don't know a single white person in any form of athletics who doesn't feel like, who hasn't like cited Rocky as like their story of triumph, right? Like that's their go-to, right?
What about that doesn't say CM Punk? I could see CM Punk sitting somewhere like, nah, Rocky's overrated.
The way that CM Punk is and anti-authority and anti all this shit, I could totally see him.
I totally see him being like, nah, y'all hyped this up. I've never watched it because I feel like, all of the people that are the stereotypical people that would like Punk are people I don't like. That totally sounds like Punk. I don't know why people are so shocked by this. That he would be the one guy in the world that has not seen a single Rocky movie. Like, no, because he's everything that is the opposite of what you would think.
Like, I've always felt like a lot of babyface writing in professional wrestling is based around Rocky movies, right? Like, that is kind of the quintessential storytelling for how to create a valiant babyface, somebody you can get behind, somebody who ultimately overcomes
I mean, the homie Sylvester Stallone has said he took elements from pro wrestling for a lot of the Rocky shit too. So
yeah, we've seen Hogan, we've seen Thunderlift, so we've seen elements he took.
Yeah, and so to me, I think that it's just interesting that I think just as a creative mind in professional wrestling, Rocky would be something that some people would draw influence from.
Will's like, I just can't believe a white man hasn't seen Rocky. It's crazy.
That doesn't make sense to me. Like,
be like, I haven't seen Friday as a black man or some shit. Yes, you have. How could you not? It's playing in your house at 24/7 at repeat at some point.
Yeah. So I just. No, it didn't make sense to me, but I think it's funny. That's a funny character trait in that, like,
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And what about the homie with the Brian Last with his little AEW rule book leaks? Is that
the AEW handbook?
I don't know if that's supposed to be outside. Yeah.
I don't know if that's supposed to be an outside, and I think people that are throwing that out to be like, oh, well, that's why he erased it so fast. I'm like, I don't know if that's.
I think he just thought better of it. I think because it was within minutes. That thing had not been up more than 3 minutes.
He wasn't like, oh yeah, the AEW handbook. He was like, oh shit, I probably.
I can't see him doing all of that, tweeting out this super long IG story, posting it, and going there. And then was like, oh shit, let me check my handbook and make sure that's okay. No, I don't think that's what happened.
No,
I can't do that.
He had one of those moments like you've had when you tweet out some shit and you're like, just getting it out. And then you're like, as soon as you hit enter, you go,
I shouldn't have. That was stupid. Why am I doing this? That's usually what I say. Like, why am I fighting with this dumb fool? I could just not.
Yeah, and I think it was just one of those quick moments of delete.
But man,
and that's not meaning that he didn't mean it. It's just like I didn't want y'all to see. Like he still could feel all that 100% that way, you know.
Man, but see, this is my thing. I think we've all been there, and this is again why I keep telling you guys, social media is not fun anymore because you have too much access to people saying things about you, and it just doesn't benefit you sometimes to respond, man. Like, it doesn't do anything for you. It makes you look worse a lot of times, even if you know you're right. And I think he has been seeing all of this stuff since September, and I think this was the one, like, nah, I did what I was supposed to do. And I think the other thing that is lost in this is I had heard for a while that he was frustrated with all the stuff they were asking him to do before he was cleared. That isn't new to me. So when I saw that, I wasn't surprised by that at all, because I had heard that was a big part of his frustration for a while. Like you heard talks about like him being diva because he didn't want to do certain stuff when he was in the boot. I heard that for a while, and so I think it's more of, nah, I showed up and I did what I was supposed to do. Why is this still a thing? Why are we even still talking about that? I did business. I think because I do think that I'm with that.
Yeah, I can see that because I feel like Dave's story, like while an important story, that would have been important at the time, but it's not important in hindsight. The stuff that Dave put out there to me is like, what does that matter now, knowing that he eventually did it anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I think that was his point.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he overshared, but
he could have been just like, that's not true, and we're moving on. But no, he let him have it.
Don't respond to it at all. Just fuck it.
Right.
Yeah, because it was such an insignificant post, it would have come and gone, and I don't think it would have gotten much traction.
But if you're sitting at home stewing and people keep throwing dirt on your name, I understand. Man.
Well, I mean,
keep throwing dirt on my name, bro. Fuck y'all.
But
you know,
but it's his exact point from the scrum from All Out. It's the exact reason why he came in there going off. Because remember in the midst of this, he was like, Dave, I feel like you were pretty incredulous. And I think this is still his same point. Like, yo, stop sharing this stuff that is not true about me. You don't do that with everybody in the locker room. Why do you keep doing it with me? I mean, we know why you keep doing it, because it equals clicks and it equals attention. But he's sitting at home like, yo, stop doing this. Like,
But the thing was, Dave didn't even do it in a click and attention way. Dave posted that on a forum that you have to pay to be a member of. Like that's, and the thing is, it was screenshotted and shared to the public, but that was part of their that's their private forums. And I think
Stop
that
snitching. Everybody, didn't we start the show saying that? Y'all need to stop snitching. This is crazy.
stop. Yeah, I think the bigger issue though is they do got to get a hold of leaking stuff, and I think that's across the board. I don't think that's
everywhere.
That's just with the Dave stuff. I felt the same way when I saw that handbook thing out there. I was like, yeah, keep some of this stuff in house. Like that is one of those things that you would see a lot less of at WWE. Like just people got to stop, man. People got to stop.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm surprised that the handbook stuff is getting as has people worked anywhere? Like I once had to sign a contract with a company I worked for, and one of the guidelines in that contract, I swear to this, said that if you invent anything while a member of this company, it is the property of the company.
When I worked at Sprint, it said that same thing. So I would always be like, "What?" Yeah, it's like if you invent a new app or something, this is Sprint's, and I was like, "What?" But yeah,
like as
we're signing all the time when we're getting
as a developer, it was a case of if you invent something while you don't even have to invent it on our computers, none of that stuff. If you invent it, it's our property, and that's the shit you sign, right? And that's just like, look, that's. There's a lot of CYA kind of stuff as a business, and you have to know that. And so that to me, like when I saw all of that, I thought, oh, that makes sense. But then I seeing people sharing it, and they're like, wow, look what a tyrannical company this is. And I thought, have you ever worked anywhere entertainment based that faces the public? This is actually pretty standard stuff. Yeah. Even if I saw that from WWE, I wouldn't have, and I've seen it from WWE. And it's not like a huge deal.
People don't understand. Sense. They don't have jobs. They don't understand lawsuits. They don't understand people having to cover their ass for all situations. They think it's just wrestling. Go out there and wrestle. No, it's a giant media corporation. Millions of dollars are involved in this. It's not just some rinky-dink promotion ran out of some bingo hall.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure people. I already just saw it scroll past in our comments. Leaks happen everywhere. Yes, leaks have been happening forever in pro wrestling, but I think you'd be fooling yourself if you don't see in the last year how much leaks have been a big part of the conversation with anything AEW related. I think it's becoming more and more of an issue. And you don't see it as big of an issue as some other companies. See, the leaks happen everywhere, but I think it is
it feels different.
I think it's the level of the leaks. I think the severity of some of the stuff that's coming out. Yeah, I just think people got to relax.
Yeah, let's get through some more Humper chats. And let's see. This one, I want to make sure I read everything. Van Twinblade says, I have a new whiteboard because Anakin Murray broke mine last show. It premieres in 26 hours live on Fight Plus, where you can also watch GCW's The Collective for $7.99 a month. That's less than a Big Mac meal, baby.
Straight up.
R.I.P. SPO.
Yeah, R.I.P. the homie SPO. They just had a service, I think, yesterday. The homegirl Tracy was out there, so sending love again out to anybody that was down with that. And yeah, if you are not going to be at Mania and you want to watch The Collective, this is the best deal that they've had ever, because it used to be you have to individually buy every single show, and I think the package was like $100 and something last year, but now you could get that shit for $8, and if you wait until the shit starts, you could get a 7-day free trial and watch all of it for free. So no reason to miss any of the Collective shit this year. Definitely get you a Fight Plus subscription. That's a great deal. Yeah. You can't even get into a show for $8. You can't do nothing for $8. You can't get an Uber to the show for $8. So that's a great deal.
Let's see. Also, we got another here from Tony P. Tony says, if they're going to be stupid and keep the belts on Roman, don't make 1,000 days the reason. Let it be so Cody can win on a SmackDown at MSG where the story started. Also, can people finally admit there are different ways a company can be successful without copying WWE? I mean, yeah, I think, again, like I said last week, every company's success should be compared to itself, and how they can improve upon themselves, and that's it. Now, as far as, yes, I think any milestone to just try and hit a number milestone is silly, because at the end of the day, 900 and some odd days is still really impressive.
Crazy milestone, regardless.
Yeah, I think the idea of saving for a moment when there is no bigger moment than WrestleMania, is very weird.
Right.
Like, why on earth would you not just have Cody get the win here? Like, there is no reason to save that moment for another time. It's WrestleMania. It's his second WrestleMania back.
Execute.
No,
Yeah.
just do it. Like, this is coming fresh off a Royal Rumble win. This is the time to do it. Do not try and save this, and especially when you had another moment that you did not use in Montreal to get to this moment. So no. Put the belt on Cody. Stop
You
it.
got to put it on Cody.
Cody
This
Rhodes
is
has
it.
to be leaving LA as the WWE Universal Champion because it's gonna be too convoluted if they try to keep it going.
Especially when like Roman hasn't been winning clean lately. Like
Right.
all of his wins have been tainted anyway.
And this is like the most vulnerable he's ever been. His family's in turmoil. All this, like this is it right here.
When's the last time he actually had a clean win?
Cena?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I guess technically SummerSlam, because I guess
Brock was not. I mean, Brock had a whole bunch of interference.
Yeah, that wasn't clean.
yeah. So he hasn't had a
long
clean.
time.
He hadn't had a clean win in a long time.
A long time.
I mean, I guess he beat Big E clean, right?
Yeah.
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 Still over a
since then-
year, you know?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like all of his wins have had a huge amount of interference from the bloodline, from anybody you can imagine. I mean, Logan Paul had a whole bunch of interference too. Like it really, I would like this to just be a straight up Roman and Cody match that Roman doesn't have everybody to back him up. Like if, and when he doesn't have everybody, that's when he's vulnerable. That's
Got to
when he
take
loses.
out Solo before the show, Cody. Better get Solo.
I mean, he's facing Solo on Monday, and then if the Usos lose to Kevin and Sammy, then they can be out, and then all of a sudden it's down to just Roman and Cody, and you do the victory there. It needs to be Cody.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got this one here is from Black Phoenix brand. It says, "Am I the only one feeling weird about KO? The promos he's cut since reuniting with Sammy are screaming heel turn to me, but maybe it's just PTSD from all his other turns."
It's PTSD from NXT. It's just like when you see those two together, it's just like, all right, when is he going to turn on?
When's Kevin going to do it?
Oh, I mean that is Kevin Owens in general though. That anybody he's aligned with, you're like, okay. Like remember when he did the Big O stuff when he was like briefly with the New Day?
That was
all
obvious though.
Yeah, when is he going to double cross? Like it doesn't matter. At any point, Kevin Owens has become this character that if he is happily aligned with somebody, give it it's just a matter of time.
And I think he plays into it like the promo last night when he was like, why didn't we just come out together? Why did you want to have a separate, like he plays into it too. So you're always like, is he going to do it? I think it's part of the bit now.
Yeah, I by the way, did not like the Big O stuff. And I was just like, this is, it was very obvious that he was going to turn. And then I was like, nah, you just going to put him in E's place? Nah.
And E's at home. Yeah, that was weird.
You can't just do that.
To this day, my son still talks about that. Like, for some reason, he bought it. I mean, he's a kid, but he bought into the idea that Kevin Owens would have been down with the New Day and that Kevin Owens betrayed the New Day.
Damn it.
I hope you had fun. I hope your kids had fun.
They ruined Billy.
Let's see. So Blues fan says, "Hey guys, hope you're well. How do you feel Cody Reigns plays out after another week of TV? Initial plans call for Reigns to retain against The Rock and hold the title into the summer. Do you think anything's changed?"
I think one thing they should do is last night should be the WrestleMania go home show for SmackDown should have been last night because the one on Friday like I haven't watched a SmackDown even when I was like super invested in going to WrestleMania. I would never watch the SmackDown before the WrestleMania because it just time and it never works out and the ratings are never good. Then I think they should do the real go home show last night, but
I mean, the Friday before. I mean, it depends. Like I think last year did really well because they're just doing the Andre this year at.
Speaking of, also very weird, right? Bobby Lashley. Ooh.
Yeah, that's. I imagine he'll win it, and then if he does get on WrestleMania, they'll probably do it out of that match.
That sucks. That stinks.
That's terrible. I do not want to see him win the Andre. No,
standing next
awful.
to they have to have him standing next to it. Phil, what you mean?
That sounds awful. Man, that's so lazy. It's not like you couldn't do.
Really
you could
lazy.
book something a week. Give him Bronson. Give him something like.
Somebody in that
lazy.
match with them, they could have a 1-on-1 or 3-on-3.
Well, again, that's what I think is going to happen. Is that'll probably end up being like Bobby and LA Knight, and they like it comes down to those two, and then they face each other at Mania.
Hopefully,
hopefully he still gets a Mania match, but I hope that's not what this is because it isn't his fault that they booked him in a corner and then Bray ended up having to take time off. Like they should have never put him in that situation to begin with.
Right.
I still say that this is all leftover because they ruined the end of that feud with Lesnar. Like,
unfortunate.
Like, why couldn't they have just pushed Lesnar and Bobby to Mania at this point?
That's what I'm saying. Just give them the match at Mania. And if you weren't going to just give them the match at Mania, have the Elimination Chamber be the WrestleMania rematch. Like, why are you... I just... why'd they do that? And then Omos, then you just throw Omos randomly in the mix. And they keep trying to make it seem like this is a big deal. I'm just not buying it. This is nothing against Omos. I've seen people keep trying to say, why are you hating Omos? No, because this doesn't feel like a believable match. And it doesn't.
Yes.
You know that Brock is about to squash this dude and move on. Like, come on.
Right.
Let's see. Dream Ninja says, also shout out to Dom for his hard work in this feud. The crowd lost their minds when Ray hit Dom. It all worked perfectly. I agree that was a moment. And
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It was a great moment. I do think they dragged it on very long.
They dragged it. But they got to a good completion point, I thought.
But yeah, I think it was a logical reason for him to finally hit him of, finally bringing his wife and Aaliyah back to TV and having that be the thing that made him finally hit him. I thought it was well executed. It just took us a long time to get to this point.
And shout out to Dom. He really came up, man. Like at the beginning of this feud, we were all like, ew. And now he's like one of the hottest heels in the whole company. So that's a big come up.
Yeah. Jake Salazar says, nah, Reg on Twitter saying that shirt wants to call him a bad name took me out talking about the Cody shirt.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah,
bro.
I think it's just the fact that it is kind of a Hogan homage. And it was like,
it's tough. It's a tough one.
Gaming from Canada says, what up, guys? Always enjoy watching the show while I work. That whoa for Cody's entrance at Mania is going to be wild.
Oh, yeah.
It's going
it gets louder and louder every week. And he plays into it more every week. It's great.
Yeah.
AT says, is Cody's WWE run also a low-key win for the Elite?
I mean, how
Elite.
much they're bringing up like little insider things on promos and AEW's been kind of the talk of this. Yeah, totally.
I will say that I thought this week on Raw, both Cody and Roman mentioning it, both painted it in a positive light. And I thought that, Roman's line where he said that Cody started up a company that he couldn't get over in, I think makes Cody seem not good enough for that company. It didn't make the company sound bad at all. And then Cody's response of, hey, that company that I helped start made 100% of the people in the back more money. And again, these are all things that, so like that's one of those things where I think Tony watching that probably went, hey.
I mean, I people that are like, this is a win for Elite, we know why they're doing it. They're trying to entice those guys to come there.
Yeah, of course. I think they're not trying to butter them boys up to come over here.
I'm sure they're looking around like, we don't like Phil either. Come on over here.
But you know what?
Triple H hates that motherfucker.
You know what's interesting though? right time to do it now because I have been on this kick of watching Kenny stuff lately. And can I tell you guys, Kenny Omega right now is both. I don't know how he figured it out at this point, but I was watching some early AEW stuff and I realized how much of a different TV performer Kenny's become in the last 4 years.
Totally.
That when you look at Kenny Omega from this last Wednesday compared to, say, Kenny Omega on the first Dynamite, he is night and day more comfortable doing TV wrestling.
Now, when he was doing his entrance this week, I was like, this fool is a big fucking star, man. When Battle Cry's playing and he's walking down, I'm like, oh, man, he is lit.
He carries himself so much differently than he did. And it's not like Kenny wasn't experienced in 2019, but it's just a different type of experience.
He's
and it
never
feels
been
like
a weekly TV wrestler before that. This is new.
yeah, and like just watching him in the early AEW days compared to now, it really feels like a night and day performer. It feels like a completely different guy who just really gets it now. Like
strap this motherfucker up, man.
He
Give
works
this
for,
man the belt. God damn it. I
Like
love you, Max, but
he works for the cameras now. There's a lot of different things Kenny does now that he wasn't doing before. And even his selling is just different than it was. I still think he, like, obviously, this is a 7-star performer before, but I think today, the way.
Wait a second. This is your pitch to get Kenny Omega to WWE? Let's move on. What the hell are you talking about?
No, what I'm saying, though, is if there were ever a time for WWE to take notice, it's right now.
No, I agree.
Like, I remember that take on Twitter that was like, nah, we got to get Kenny Omega to NXT beforehand. Yeah, and I thought, and like everybody thought that was insane. But I think that more than anything, if WWE has an eye on him now, they wouldn't even consider that because he feels like a TV performer right now.
That was a
wild.
That was a disgusting take.
Yes.
That was a bad take, stat guy, Greg.
One of the nastiest for sure.
That was
a bad take, but
that was
otherwise
a bad take. But man, the other thing is, I think the difference in 3 years ago before when he wasn't on TV is that he had all this lore and continuity that New Japan fans know. Now he has AEW lore and continuity that they can go back to. Like the way I popped when Marvez popped up to ask some comments, I was like, they're doing a thing again. They're doing a thing for the Bell Collector run.
Yes. No, I thought that. So let's talk about the match because that was like a big part of the reason that I traveled across the country was to go see Kenny versus Vikingo in the main event of Dynamite. My wife had never seen Vikingo before. She looked at him and she was just like, this is a handsome dude. I don't know anything else about him, but let's see what he does. And then he went out there and killed it with Kenny.
He did it.
Kenny, again, I think there's just something different about this Kenny Omega compared to the Kenny Omega of before. I know people will always say that, nah, Kenny was the best in New Japan, and maybe that's where you got the best Kenny matches. But again, he worked in a way here where he just wanted to give Vikingo as much shine as possible in front of this audience, and he made him look like $1 million. He sold for him like crazy. But Kenny here was also, I think there's so much value in singles Kenny right now that I wasn't realizing how much of it there was. Like, I love trios Kenny. He was doing great in the trios division.
Work.
But nah, I am with
Reg.
This,
like I said, from the entrance of him coming out and just being like, I'm the biggest fucking star here. I'm Kenny Omega. I've had a 7-star match. And then to go in and to be the best base you could ever be in wrestling and make Vikingo look like he's the most dynamic wrestler in the entire world, have him hit all his spots perfectly, be in all the perfect spots, all the timing's great. Like 100% of this match went well. There was nothing, no points where it was like, things are off the rails. No, they were, from the bell ringing, it was lit. This was the best performance you could ever ask from Vikingo. Like, you get, like, I get nervous. Like, I got nervous before the Commander match because, like, the room for error is so small. Like, the way that these guys do spots, the way that they run the ropes, like, any little thing could throw this off. There's so many moving parts of why this can't work. But then they go and Commander did it too, executed all the hot shit he was going to execute. Vikingo was like, I'm a 5-star video game wrestler, 100% stats. I could hit any spot you want. There's nothing you could do to stop me. This shit was amazing. I was standing up in my room, fucking yelling like I was there. Everything you could want from a debut performance, like with everything we had on the internet before it, of people being like, oh, who's this guy, blah, 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 video packages and all the shit. And then to come and execute that shit 100%. Can't get better than that, man.
I don't know. I think I said on Twitter as soon as the match started, I was like, I don't know. So it sure sounds like this crowd knows who this guy is, because the Vikingo chants were loud throughout the match. And so I don't know. I just think that people in the bubble of wrestling fans have to get out of this. I'm used to wrestling being presented this way, and this is the only way wrestling is presented. And I think the AEW's crowd has shown you many times that it's different. Like,
it is.
This isn't AEW where, I mean, this isn't WWE where they try to make you think that our fans don't watch any other wrestling. AEW embraces the fact that their fan base watches everything. And so why would you think that this company that has embraced AAA from the beginning, the fan base wouldn't know who Vikingo is? Like, that just never made sense to me. Like, Kenny has been mega champion. They've had the tag belts from this company on their show several times. Yep. Why would you think that this fan base wouldn't know who Vikingo is? This fan base that is like online all the time, and there are constantly insane Vikingo gifs online all the time. Yeah. Why would you think that this fan base wouldn't know who this man is? That take never made sense to me.
But I will say, being in that crowd, there were a lot of people who didn't. A lot. And I say that to say that shit don't matter. It
doesn't matter.
I posted the chart of Vikingo's Google Trends and how much it skyrocketed by thousands of percent upon this match happening, because I think any wrestling audience you can count on, when you put something crowd pleasing in front of them, they're gonna go, "Oh shit, who is this? Cool. Yeah, this is cool." Like, they're not gonna go, "Well, I don't care about this because you didn't show me anything. I'm just turning my TV off. I don't care about this." That's never going to happen.
I'm leaving the arena.
Yeah, and I mean, never happened. I feel like people don't give wrestling fans enough credit. Like, that's why I tweeted. I was like, give casual fans some credit here. That just because they don't know doesn't mean they won't figure it out or won't stick around to be interested in who it is. I think that there were people in that audience. My wife was sitting next to me. She said she didn't know who this was. I've never introduced her to him. So, like, she was like, I don't know who this is, but he seems really cool. The people in front of me were like, oh, wow, he can do that? Like, that's how it goes. That's how have people been introduced to their favorite wrestlers before? Like, that's the thing I don't understand, is you had to see somebody for the first time before. Whether you were watching wrestling and you just like sat down and watched them and went, okay, this person's cool.
Seems simple.
Yeah, like you didn't get a video package for every wrestler you've ever seen. At some point, you just started watching.
And I don't know, this idea that video packages is the thing that gets everybody interested in a wrestler is just ridiculous. That's just not why anybody has gotten interested in any wrestler. Like, oh, that video package made him look cool. Now I'm a fan. Like, nah, it's a promo you saw or a match you saw. And I guess the point I'm making, I knew that there are a bunch of people in that crowd that didn't know him, but the point I'm making is, why wouldn't their core audience know who he is? That just never made sense to me. Exactly. Their core audience is tuned in. They're tapped into everything. So why wouldn't they know who he is? Like, that's
they cater to us. That's why I like AEWs, because they cater to hardcores. They know that we're gonna know who random luchadors are. Not even random, like dynamic luchadors are, you know?
Yeah, I never understood that take.
The match was solid though. It was really, really good.
5 stars, baby.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too is again, I've been to a lot of shows. I go to a lot of AEW shows. I go to a lot of WWE shows. I've been to shows. I keep a running inventory of every show I've been to and everybody I attended it with. Every indie show. Every show I've ever attended, I have in a notes app, and I keep adding to it.
That's crazy.
And so, but one of the things I always find interesting is If you've never been to an AEW show, you've probably never seen this, but it's a thing Tony does at every show. But he comes out at the top of the ramp and he asks the crowd, how many of you have been to an AEW show before? And then there's a pop. And then he goes, and how many of you, this is your first show? And then he listens for the reaction. It sounded 50-50 at this show. That there were a lot of people who did, and this was AEW's fourth time in that arena. It sounded about 50-50 when he asked that question. And I was really surprised about that. I thought it would probably be a lot of the same fans who attended last time. But the pop for how many of you are attending your first AEW show was a pretty good reaction.
Yeah. It's just a different experience at AEW shows at the moment. I just think the most fun I've had in the last few years of going to wrestling is at AEW show and indie shows because they're just trying to put on a good show. Like, it doesn't really matter. Do you know if this person or not, or, what is the story? Like, no, they're just trying to put on a good show. And I think, man, I've been saying this since he did that post-match interview after he beat Ospreay. You can see all of the hints of belt collector Kenny's there, man. Like when they aired that video package of him talking to him, basically saying like, "Nah, you never beat me. You just took that belt off of me because I was never gonna lose."
Oh, and there's that this new thing of Jeff Cobb says he's about to pull up to Dynamite to try to catch.
Oh yeah, he said he's coming to St. Louis, which is Wednesday.
Listen, man, the match in Toronto, they're making sure to put Forbidden Door in Chicago. I am again telling you, Okada Omega will happen on the U.S. soil.
I think so too.
It's coming.
One of those matches is gonna be Kenny and Okada. Yeah, I believe it.
Kenny though, like I said, I'm so glad he's back in singles action. The way the match ended was
masterful performance from Kenny Omega. Like we're not surprised, but damn, you just forget because he's been involved. It's his first match in however long they said a singles match on Dynamite, and it's like. You forget that, like, no, you guys have legit who many consider the best wrestler in the world, number one. Like, many people consider that. And you have him at your anytime you want, you can have him out there in the main event. And this showed that, like, one, he should be in the main event more often. And two, he shows up when it's main event time. He shows up all the time. But
I mean, it's Kenny Omega. It's
crazy.
That's bout machine. We already know it's gonna happen.
But I said all this to say that if there was ever a time for WWE to have their eye on him, it is right now.
I agree.
It is.
I agree.
You can just see it. You can see that he is he's still performing at a high level, but he's performing in a very TV way, and I'm ready for it. But I don't know. I had a good time at this show in general. There are a few things that I wanted to bring up from this show. I was curious how you guys felt. So I know back in October, we were feeling a certain way about one Daniel Garcia. And we would talk about how, man, I can't believe he's still sticking with the Jericho Appreciation Society. Am I crazy, or did he feel this week like the best he's ever felt?
I got it. When we were wrong. We were wrong. Like
I don't think we were wrong.
I think we were wrong.
I don't think we were wrong.
I think we were wrong. I think this spot, he's in a bigger position than he would have been in if he was in BCC.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I mean, that part of it is fair, but I think if anything, him coming out without them and doing something on his own and calling out Adam Cole, it kind of proved my point that I'm ready for him to go off and do other things.
Sure, I think so, but I think that had he not had a little bit of that kind of sports entertainment injected into him, I don't think we would have gotten to see this side of him. But I liked him a lot in this promo with Adam Cole. I think this was the best he's looked at.
This was definitely the best promo he's had, like, far and away.
It was great. I enjoyed stuff like him clearly dressed like Jodeci for some reason. Shout out to Seahawks. But even him mentioning and slipping and saying pro wrestling again, it's the same stuff that was getting him over before. And that's why I was like, I don't understand why he hasn't moved on yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they know that it is kind of a thing the fans still like. When he slipped and started to say pro wrestler, the crowd started chanting at him. There's still legs to that. There's still money in that. There's still money in him trying everything he can to not be like, maybe he doesn't need to be around Jericho 24/7 anymore. That I can agree with. But I think the character still benefits from this sports entertainment stuff. It's actually pretty good still.
You know, I'm liking everything they're doing with all the people that are not in the Jericho Appreciation side. I think the thing that Sammy's better being over there in the world title picture. I think 2.0 being over trying to establish themselves as one of the best tag teams is great. And I think this Daniel Garcia thing is great. Like this Jericho Appreciation Society as a group together just not doing it still.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm just ready for them to go off and do their own thing. That's the whole thing. Like I would like to see those guys wrestle more as a tag team as well. I just want to see them move forward. Like it just seems like they were kind of running in place for a minute.
Right. I like that Tony got under the Adam Cole thing too, and he didn't try to leave a mystery because we don't need to continue doing this mystery 1 week. Who's it gonna be? Like, no, get it right after it. Say who we're gonna have the match with, so we don't do this. Who's it gonna be? Who could it be? Jay White?
Although I will say there was a little panic in my heart though when Adam Cole said to Daniel Garcia that you're running with the wrong crowd, the Jericho Appreciation Society, and I was like, no, don't say Jericho's name. He'll pop up and then you'll be stuck with him for 6 months.
You said it out loud, Adam Cole. You're screwed.
I did get a little bit
going to
worried.
interfere at the end.
Yeah, I did get a little worried. Like, no, I hope this isn't leading to a Jericho feud.
I said on Day After Dynamite that honestly, I think the person to be Cole's first feud, Christian. I think that it's probably time for him to resurface, literally since being buried. Yeah. And
that's pretty good.
I know he's on all the ads for the Canadian tour, so I don't think he's. I think they at least have him planned for shows in June. But why not kick off the feud now? I think that's a good place for Cole to go. It's a good, solid top heel that I think you can get some good promos out of and get a good match out of. They've had a match before, and it was very good. So that's what I would like to see is Christian and Adam Cole.
I like it. That's pretty good.
But yeah, so I don't know. I took a drive to Independence, Missouri, and I have to say that I love road trips. I have a lot of fun with road trips, but one of the drawbacks of road trips is that some of the only things to eat are fast food. And I definitely ate a lot of that and didn't really have a whole lot of time to work out. And since I've been back, which has been all of 48 hours, it's pretty much time to get back in reset mode, which it brings us to the Fitbod app. And if you are like me and you've fallen off of your workout routine and you need to get yourself back to your goals, this is where the Fitbod app does its thing. You can it adjusts, its algorithm adjusts based on your progress. So if you are like me and you've fallen off and you need to get back on track, the Fitbod app is there for you. The Fitbod app's algorithm changes and updates your fitness plan as you go. Just pick a fitness goal, add your equipment, and Fitbod will create a routine for you. Whether you've been missing gym time or you've hit a plateau, fresh start has never been easier. The app switches up your exercises to avoid overtraining or burnout, and your program changes based on your personal progress for maximized results. Whether you work out in the weight room or your bedroom, Fitbod has a plan for you. Learn new movements the right way with over 1,400 HD demonstration videos. A full year of Fitbod is less than the cost of a single session with a personal trainer. Join Fitbod today and build a routine that lasts all year. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free at fitbod.me/Grapsody. That's FITBOD.me/GRAPSODY. Fitbod, folks.
Grapsody and Fitbod.
Grapsody and Fitbod. For real, though, like, honestly, it's hard when you're just sitting in a car for, I think, a collective. I mean, I'm glad my wife was there because we were able to trade off. She drove a collective like 4 hours, and I drove the rest of the time. But yeah, you know, when you're stopping at gas stations and stopping at Wendy's and any place else. We did find this really dope restaurant. I think it was just outside the Kansas and Colorado border. And I imagine they have to have some great stories of just like people who just passed through, because it was literally just middle of nowhere exit, but it was this Mexican restaurant, and great food, great stuff. But again, got to get back on them workouts and back on it, because this trip definitely put like 5 pounds on me. And
that's what the rappers we talking. Fonte was saying. Fonte from Little Brother was saying it's hard to get back into like touring and stuff because he's on like a set strict diet at home. But then when you leave, you don't really have a choice. It's like you get out of a concert late, 2 a.m. You got to like eat, and not a good place is open at 2 a.m. to eat. And so it really kind of affects your regular day-to-day thing, and it could be rough.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But fitbod.me.
Yep.
Will definitely help you get back on track.
They just announced a new another AEW show for Colorado too, didn't they?
Yeah, I didn't find that out till I was because I don't see that in the arena.
Right.
No, that's in Colorado Springs, so that's like an hour from me. So I'll probably be there.
Yeah.
I've hit every show that's ever hit.
And if you just drove 8 hours to get somewhere, I'm sure you would drive an hour.
Yes. I've been to every show that's hit the World Arena in Colorado Springs. As a matter of fact, there's a stupid old story with me and T. We attended a show at that arena, the World Arena in Colorado Springs. I think it's called the Broadmoor now. And there were these two guys behind us who, it was at a SmackDown. It was a SmackDown in May of 2008. And they just kept shouting, "Swing that purse!" And the other guy would go, "Swing that purse! Hit him with your purse!" And I'm like, what the fuck are these guys talking about, right? But ever since then, it's been like this running gag between me and T, where we'll be watching a show and T will yell out, "Swing that purse!" And they'll yell, "Swing that purse!" And nobody gets this but the two of us. And literally when that show was announced, I sent it to T. And I just sent it. I was like, "Look where it is," and he responds, "Swing that purse." Nobody.
I love it. Shout out to T.
Yeah, it's been 15 years since that show, but "Swing that purse" is a gag that will never die with the two of us.
T's coming to Double or Nothing.
He'll be at Double or Nothing.
Sweet.
I just seen him tweeting, talking about he's planning another trip to Vegas, and I was like,
right.
might be seeing my guy soon.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So he'll be at Double or Nothing.
Hell yeah.
You and your Reese slander, I didn't forget that. In a season where I feel like the worst candy is Easter candy. Easter candy is disgusting.
You don't fuck with jelly beans, man? You wildin'.
The only specific jelly beans.
Okay.
Those jelly beans we used to get as kids was trash.
So I'm
trash.
They give me nostalgia though, but you don't like black jelly beans?
Disgusting. Nah, Peeps trash. Cadbury eggs trash. Like a lot of Easter.
Hold on, whoa! I'm not going on the Cadbury cream egg. Like, I was willing to.
Trash.
I had you with
The
Peeps.
caramel one smacks. I don't know about the rest of them though.
But yeah, it's funny too is we were playing little car games with the kids, and one of the games that the kids had us play was to build your. It was a build your dream ice cream. And like right, and they were like, okay, you have to name everything you want in your ice cream. And then we happened to like stop in Kansas City. We stopped at this ice cream shop that had everything we had talked about. And I remember the ice cream I had described was like, I want a s'mores ice cream, but have you ever made s'mores with like a Reese's cup instead of like a Hershey bar? That's like the best s'more you could ever make. It's just, instead of doing the Hershey bar, you replace it with just an entire Reese's cup, right?
I'm liking it.
Yeah. So anyway, I had described that in ice cream form. I was like, I would love an ice cream that just has like Reese's Pieces, but also marshmallow, but also graham cracker, and all mixed into an ice cream. And when we get to this ice cream place, they had all of that. And I looked at both kids and I'm like, I'm getting my dream ice cream. I said, you guys went all the way out there. I can make mine happen. And so that was fun. But that's what, we do with the kids.
Family times. Good shit.
Family time. Somebody asked in the chat, how did Riho play in the at the basketball game? Because Riho was there. She got eliminated from knockout very quickly. And
Did she have that fight with her?
Well, you know what was funny was my kids did not realize. My daughter actually got a selfie with Riho. I didn't post it, but it was funny because my kids didn't realize how small Riho truly is because they legit thought that was just like another kid there. And my daughter took this picture with Riho.
Riho's the best.
Yeah, she's great, but I guess it's one of those things where TV makes her look a lot bigger than she is.
Yeah.
And when my daughter was like, she walked by and I was like, "Oh, it's Riho." She's like, "Oh, is that like a fan of Riho?" And I was like, "No, Veda, that." I was like, "That's Riho." She's like, "No, that person's like 2 inches taller than me." I'm like, "I know, that's Riho."
That's what's great. That's why everybody loves her, because she's the underdog and she still kicks ass.
Listen, Riho had 2 of the funniest moments this week. That video of Stokely walking up the hallway, and Riho was in the mix laughing, but also him putting up that video of him alone at home listening to music, and
all
one
the
of
chat
first
messages.
That's Riho calling him a bitch.
Stokely's so great. When he
Stokely's
put
#1.
he put the Tony Khan hashtag AEW Rampage.
Oh, Stokely
honestly,
was this week too on the show, huh? He
Stokely,
was wildin', bro.
Honestly, Stokely really is the funniest man in professional wrestling.
Big
I don't
fact.
think anybody gets wrestling comedy better than he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's just so black. That's what I like about it. Like, why nobody would talk about Wingstop on this show, but this fool. Like,
Wingstop. I forgot about that.
It is truly black humor, but his timing is also good. When he says, "Shout out to all my fans, all 12 of y'all."
Yeah. Like little transition lines he throws in too. There's like not the big points, but like the little points that he's hit. He's just so good at his job, man.
He handed the doctor's note. It just said, what did it just say? It just said he's sick. He is sick.
he is sick on a Wingstop receipt.
But honestly, I think Justin Roberts' timing was great on that too. He's like, with all due respect, Stokely, this is a receipt for Wingstop.
This is a receipt from Wingstop.
Nah, we gotta give Justin Roberts his credit too, man. Because
yeah,
I was waiting all night for that Kenny Omega intro, and he did not disappoint.
No, he knocked out the park. Yeah.
No, honestly, when I think again, that's a thing that's come together a lot better than it used to, because I think the way that they present the Justin Roberts Kenny Omega entrance is better than it was at Daly's Place. I think something has really come together with it better than it used to be. Like I think about when
it's
Kenny
over. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, when Kenny first returned back in the summer, last August, when Justin Roberts is handed the note, because it was of course a mystery partner, and he just looks and goes, "Okay." And now, as soon as he looked up and gave the "and now," I was like, "Okay, this is great." I'm so glad that Kenny has
Kenny
these.
back, man. That's crazy that he was out for he was out for almost a year. It's crazy to think about it, because he's such an important part of AEW as a whole, an important part of the show, and it's been showing every week that he's on the show that no, this company is started in part because of this guy, and it's great to just see him be able to do his thing. It's crazy.
I'm really glad we're getting back. Like I said, I got so excited on that show when Jon Moxley jumped Kenny Omega, and I'm like, we're back. We're back here. This is back where the company started,
and
literally.
Not for nothing, Hill Moxley is just beautiful.
Great.
I'm loving it. It's so good, man. He's killing it.
Best heel company right now.
Yeah.
But the other part, of course, is Don being a snake. Don is back to trying to weasel his way in and manipulate things. And I totally think at this point that he was behind the Bucks being attacked. I
know. Who did it? Was it the Blackpool Combat Club? I don't know. Or if it was, who set them up to be jumped? And yeah, I like it. I felt like my favorite things in professional wrestling shows are where angles can kind of work their way through a show.
Yep.
And I like that the show started with the Bucks angle. In the middle, it had the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Dark Order, or specifically, it was Moxley versus Stu, which tied into, of course, Kenny having the promo backstage with Don Callis. Don telling him, "Don't worry about the Bucks. Focus on the singles match you're having." And then you realize it all tied together because there was the question being asked of, well, what's the story with this Vikingo Kenny match? Now we know what the story was. The story was that Don Callis is trying to keep him away from the Elite by booking him in singles matches. There is a story there.
Enticing him with his own dream matches.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and I think there's such a great story in it. If you tie it all the way to the New Japan matches, that I think Don is looking around like he can't help himself. Once he gets around some gold, we know what he's gonna do. He's gonna go and he's gonna go on this excursion. And so I think Don is like, nah, come back over here. We had it good before. You don't need to do this silly trio stuff. You got that out of your system. Like, no, we're going hunt for gold again.
How Don is dressed too, because when Kenny was the belt collector, they were wearing the suits. They were wearing that, and Kenny now is just like in sneakers with his Young Bucks gear, off the wrestling gear, whatever. So like, yeah, Don is trying to get him back to where they were when they were making money, when they were the hottest act in the world. And Kenny is like trying to be nice, and Don's not into that. They're telling a lot of stories. A lot of stuff is weaved throughout this.
I think there was an absolute story with the Vikingo stuff, and I think that. I think there's this idea that, well, the story specifically needed to involve Vikingo. No, it didn't.
He's not a signed wrestler. Why would it?
He's not a signed wrestler. The story was about Kenny being lured back into singles action by somebody trying to keep him away from the Elite. The Elite has this war going on now with the Blackpool Combat Club. They need Kenny, and Don is working against that. Like, there is a storyline here, and it's a good story. I'm intrigued by it. I'm actually into this. And that's all I've wanted to see.
You've got the Hangman stuff at the same time. You still got like the loose string of the Hangman has been teasing this reunion with the Bucks for months now. And now you can tie it back to the Kenny stuff because Kenny still doesn't know that they technically cost him the title. And so, well, he might know at this point, but he hasn't let on that he knows. And so I thought that part, like I saw people saying like, oh, this is goofy. You know, of course, he'll just watch the footage from last week's episode and see that Don wasn't really hurt. But Don still has that ace up his sleeve that he could still be like, yeah, but those guys aren't really your friend.
And you can play into the story that Don won't let him watch it or some kind of thing of like he didn't let him see it all week. It's an easy way to get around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Either way, I'm intrigued. That's all I want is just storylines. All I want out of storylines, to be honest, is just to feel like I need to see what's next. Yeah. And in this mode, this is the first time in a while with AEW that I need to see what's next. Yes. That we're talking about it. We're talking about how this story could play out, what we want to see next. Because I've seen people kind of throwing out there, well, you just want this to be as good as the Bloodline. No, not saying that. What I am saying is...
what that got to do with this?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with anything. What I like about the Bloodline story is that at every turn... I wanted to see what's next.
Yes.
And this is that same deal where I just want to see what's next.
Fingers on the TV show and stuff, like leaning into next week, weaving stories through the show online, like telling a story, a complete story, not just like what's presented on Dynamite the one time.
Yeah. And I think sometimes AEW is at its best when they're using the lore from BTE and keeping the stuff that got us interested in AEW in the first place as the focal point.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know why anybody would draw the connection to.
You know why, but the
know exactly why.
But stupid.
And I mean, we're not missing anything. Both shows had good storylines here. I thought the Roman Cody stuff was really good this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go figure. Both shows can be good.
Yeah. Honestly, but I think it is time to acknowledge that I think it is a false statement. And I said this a little bit on Day After Dynamite, but I wanted to bring this to Grapsody. You're my guys. We have to have this conversation. I keep seeing the statement that, let's bring this back around, AEW is better when CM Punk is around. But what I will say, I don't think, maybe that's coincidentally true, but I don't think it is directly true in the sense that the only good things that can happen in AEW, the only intriguing and compelling things that can happen have to involve CM Punk. That's the part I disagree with.
Yes.
Because to me, and granted, I know elite lore isn't for everybody, but to me, I think that since day one has been the most intriguing stuff to happen on the show. I think that just storyline wise, when I think about AEW going back to the beginning, the stuff I was most interested in had to do with it was the elite stories. And over the last year, we haven't really gotten a whole lot of stories that got to involve the elite as far as allowing them to tell a story involving their participants. But when they get to me, it is still my favorite stuff on the show.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think I think saying the show being better without the dude isn't fair to the dude, because if we were getting this elite story plus Max and Punk were doing something, it'd be lit. Like, it's not like they're not doing it in spite of what he did. I think it's just like it's gonna be a good show regardless of if that fool's here or not.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying it's better without him. I'm saying that if you can simply tell a good story, and I think that last year Punk had the best stories. I don't think there's any question about that. That I think he had the best stories. That his feud with MJF was the best story they got to tell. And so I think people confuse that with that being exclusive to CM Punk.
Right.
And
exactly. I think that's what it is. It didn't happen just because it's CM Punk. It's just a great story. It's a great story, and he happened to be involved with it.
I think it's cyclical. I think that first year, I wouldn't say that the elite stuff was the most fascinating stuff on the show. I would say Cody was. Cody was the best thing on AEW television.
Cody was a part of the elite at the time, though.
Yeah, but a lot of the Cody stuff was Cody storylines. It wasn't stuff with the elite. It wasn't stuff with Kenny and the Bucks. It was Cody. Like the Cody stuff. The Cody stuff with Jericho was great. The Cody stuff with Max was great.
But the elite were involved in the Cody stuff with Jericho because the elite I say that because the Bucks,
you're kind of splitting hairs there. But
because I say that because the Bucks were also feuding with Santana and Ortiz. Like, it was the whole Cody was seen as the top of it, but it was literally the elite versus the inner circle.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I think it's cyclical. I think that there were points where Cody was the hottest thing on the show. There were points where the elite were the hottest things on the show. There were points where Max was the hottest thing on the show, and then there were points where Punk was the hottest thing on the show. It's cyclical.
Mox.
Yeah. And Mox as well. But I just think that last year, it's not a good example because Kenny was gone for a long time when Punk was at his hottest. So I wouldn't say that, the show is better with either of those gone. I think that it just looks that way because AEW did have a little bit of a lull period right after all.
Yeah, they did.
And it just looked that way because Punk wasn't on TV. And it was coming off the fact that Punk was giving us not just some of the most entertaining TV, but he was constantly on the internet. Everything was controversial about him. And then all of a sudden, it was just nothing. And it was just like, dang, I kind of want to see Punk. So I do think that part of it's coincidental, but I think at the same time, it is a difference between having a guy that is a big needle mover and guys that just started doing TV wrestling. And that's not a knock at the elite. That's just that Punk has had years on TV and more people know who he is. And so because of that, more people are going to pay attention when he's on TV.
And that's not to the fault of the elite. That's just like this man has been at WrestleMania, you know?
Exactly. This guy has been tenured in. He's got years and years of fandom. It's different.
Now, that was one thing that came out of the Fightful story. And I think that's something people really need to very much read into when starting to discuss some of the fallout with the elite and with CM Punk, which was that after the brawl, CM Punk did say to Kenny that my beef's not with you.
Yeah,
we knew that though.
Yeah, but then on top of that, and Kenny has talked about, anytime he's asked about it, Kenny has basically tried to make it sound like, no, I would do business. Like, I'm that, this is where what it is. This is where we are. And so,
maybe afterwards, if we're going back into the dog stuff, after he saved his dog, he was like, I didn't have a problem with you to begin with. Thanks for saving my dog.
Or they were telling the story afterwards, and Punk was like, and then that motherfucker Kenny was there, and they were like, nah, man, he actually saved your dog. What? He saved my dog? That's not too bad. We could be cool after this.
So that is something to keep in mind when people kind of talk about the idea of, Kenny and Punk would never work together.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys will work together again. It's just going to take some time. And I think that people want an easy answer right away, and there is no easy answer.
There's not, no.
I think people want to take sides, and at the same time, like, this is business. There's no sides in business. At some point, Tony Khan is going to have to make a decision here.
Yes.
And when he makes that decision, people are going to have to accept it, whether they like it or not. And if he ends up back on TV, the people that are railing against this guy and being anti-Punk are going to have to accept that. If he's not there and people that are pro-Punk, people that want him to be there, you're going to have to accept it as well. At some point, it's going to happen. And that is the thing that I came away out of all of this stuff, is I'm like, I'm kind of sick of all of this internet shenanigans.
Exactly.
Let's make a decision. Is this guy coming back or not? If he's not coming back, let's move on. If he is, let's do business.
Yes, that's it. Can't keep playing these stupid games, IG fucking posting shit. Like, no, let's talk about the wrestling, dude. What's happening?
And I think at this point, anybody that has thought that he really wanted to be out of his contract, I think that notion is far out of the window at this point. He clearly wants to still wrestle. He clearly still wants to wrestle there. So if you're going to do business with a guy, I think you need to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, granted, I think that was, of course, in the Fightful Select story as well, that in the days after, that was probably true. I think when you're heated and you're just like, fuck it, I quit, I'm done. Like, that was probably true.
At some point, he was like, I'm out of here, fuck these fools. Like, immediately after all this stuff happened, for sure.
Yeah. But, of course, there's the old saying, cooler heads will prevail. And I think that with time going on, there's like, maybe I can do business with these guys.
Right.
So, anyway, let's read some more stuff. We got a lot. Lorenzo Torres asks, who should main event night one? I think it's the tag match. Yeah. I think you will never have a better opportunity for tag team titles to main event a show than that.
WrestleZania, baby. It's
Yes. And it closed out SmackDown this week. It opened Raw last week, closed out SmackDown the week before. Like,
hot angle.
It is the hottest thing you could close out the show with.
It's still the best story going into WrestleMania. I know that the main event now is hot because you got those guys together, but the Jay and Sammy stuff is still the best story going into WrestleMania.
Right.
Vivek says, hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller from Singapore. Awesome. Do you think Randy is coming out to RKO Cody immediately after his big victory? I think that'd be awful. I think that would...
Wow. Talk about 0% interest in an angle. I don't want that.
No, I think it'd be a great angle. I think it's a great story to tell. Not like you have to just let moments be.
Yeah.
That is like,
we could do the Randy thing, but not him taking his moment at WrestleMania. I don't think
that is Russo in WCW bad. Like when you're talking about, you just can't resist doing shit just to throw it against the wall. Like you gotta, like even if it was the night after WrestleMania, that's fine. If like Cody is celebrating the night after and then Randy comes out, RKO's him, then that's fine. Doing it at Mania sounds no good. Mania should have, again, watch Rocky movies, right? Like at some point you have to have the happy ending.
Brought it right back around.
But if you did the happy ending and then like Rocky just like gets hit by a car, like
right afterward,
and then credits.
But there's no happy ending to the initial Rocky movie. He lost.
He lost, yes, but it's about a story of coming back and triumph, right? Same with the first Creed. And I feel like, as far as Cody is concerned, I think him triumphing over the bloodline has to soak in. You can't be like, he triumphed, now immediately move on. No fucking way.
And even if you do that, I don't think Randy is the guy to do that. Like, if it's some big shocking thing, like if you want to slot Jay White into that spot, that's a little bit more interesting because that's something new. Like, I don't think anybody would be looking at this like, oh, Randy heel turn. No, I haven't seen that before.
There's a story there, obviously, right? Because, Cody was Randy's protege and like him coming out and wanting his hands on Cody and realizing that Cody has surpassed him in a sense. because Randy has never had the main event of WrestleMania in this kind of spot as the challenger who walked out with the championship in pomp and circumstance. There's a story to tell there that you came in and took something I've never even gotten. I would actually like that story, but not at WrestleMania.
Is Randy even cleared, or they said
there's
he's
word
going to
that-
be there, but they haven't said if he's cleared. Like, he could just be there. To
it
be
hasn't been
around.
confirmed. It's a rumor that's out there that
Yeah.
he's going to be ready for WrestleMania
Gotcha.
after the Raw after WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I think there's a story to tell there. I absolutely think there is. It's just not at WrestleMania. If you did it the Raw after, great. You could have Cody, Sammy, and KO win a 6-man tag match the night after as they're all celebrating with their belts, and then Randy comes out and RKOs. Like, there's a spot you can do there.
Right.
The hell, find whatever Ted DiBiase's doing right now and bring him in for this. Maybe at least for just like a promo. That wouldn't be too bad.
Ain't they still in like Brett Favre? Weren't they all a part of that? The DiBiase boys?
Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
I
you
was about
forgot
to say,
about
I
them
think-
DiBiase boys being out in them streets.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't know if they're going to bring them in.
Yeah, I was gonna say I forgot, but
think
like
that's
there's a
happening.
story to tell there. If like, hey, Cody like really went off and did it and left these guys behind.
Yeah, but yeah, that segment this week again. Every week since Royal Rumble, anybody that has been saying that Cody isn't the guy, you've been proven more and more wrong every week. And I think at this point, it's just like, no, anybody still saying that it should be Sammy, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. I'm sorry. But just watching it this week, it is clear as day, like that it's Cody. Cody is the guy. Not just because Roman pretty much cooked him in the first part of that promo, and I didn't think he was going to come back swinging, even though he did lie a little bit in his promo, which all heels do.
Yes.
But man, his comeback to it, he couldn't have had a better comeback. His comeback was basically like, yeah, well, I don't know, you can say all of that, but when you lose, you will have nothing. And the look on his face, like he was really shook because he knew it's true.
Well, that's part of what I appreciate about this Roman character is that it has been nearly 3 years with him as champion. And none of it has existed without the championship. And so that's the part I'm ready for. I'm ready for this next phase of what does the tribal chief look like without the belt? What does he have? Does the bloodline want to be around him anymore? Heyman has been with him, but the whole time there's been 1 week, and it was the first week where Heyman was with Roman and he didn't have the belt. But since then, it's been Roman and Heyman with the belt, the Usos with the belt, Solo with the belt. What happens when there's no title in play?
Yeah, and I think the best thing about what Cody said is there was no speculation to it because we've already seen all the cracks. I mean, when he said, man, when you're no longer champion, he goes back to being an advocate. We already saw that that's true. He's itching to go back and be with Brock. You already seen it. You already seen that, Jay's ready to move, man. Jay's ready to pick up that chair too, man.
Yep.
I don't know. And I'm starting to feel it like the way he talked to Solo afterwards, all of them are going to turn on him. It's coming.
Yes. But it needs to happen with Roman losing the belt. And I think that, again, I think Cody was the better choice than Sammy. I know people don't want to see that, but
It's just the truth of the matter at this
Yeah.
point.
it's the truth of the
I think every segment has proved it. Every segment that him and Roman have had together has been good, and I feel like it is a different kind of electricity when they're in the ring together. And I think it's just because we didn't think we would see this matchup.
I think so. That plays a big part.
And I just think there's just I don't know. This feels like a WrestleMania main event, and that's not to say that Sammy could not have still felt that spot. But I think in this moment, it's Cody's time, man. It's his moment.
But again, it goes back to the analogy I gave to Cena and Batista in '05. And I know we have a lot of younger fans that don't remember that stuff, but there was a case of the question was asked in '05, which was, yes, Batista is over, but is he over outside of this evolution angle? They couldn't answer that. And luckily, they did have 2 titles and 2 brands to test that out on. And it was like, okay, now that Batista's away from Hunter, we're going to move him to SmackDown where we can play around with him a little bit more and give him angles away from Hunter to really see how over he was, or were people just behind him because they wanted him to turn on Evolution. And they did. They successfully proved that, okay, he's works over well with Eddie. He works well with Ray. He works well in all of these scenarios.
Undertaker.
But they couldn't answer that. But they did have that answer with Cena. Because with Cena, it was like, well, Cena didn't just get over for feuding with JBL. Cena was over for the last year.
Cena was so fucking over then. Holy shit, he was over.
Yeah, and he had multiple feuds. He had feuded with Booker T. He had feuded with Rene Dupree. He had all of these feuds where it was like, okay, we know we have this with Cena. We don't know this with Batista. Let's swap. And I feel like
that's what needs to happen now. Rene Dupree needs to come out with his poodle, and like he's just gonna stand in the ring and have a stare down with Cody, and Pharaoh's gonna be next to him. That's the new mixed tag match going into SummerSlam.
Rene Dupree was such an interesting case because that dude was 18, right? Like that wasn't he was so young, and obviously, if somebody doesn't work out that young, then it's like you hate to see it happen, but at the same time, it's like we've seen guys not even hit their stride till 35, right? Look at what Cody's doing right now, right? And for Rene Dupree to have burnt out that quickly, it's
unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. When you think about 18, he was.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't his fault. He should have been given other opportunities because he wasn't bad.
Yeah, too early.
He's only 39. He's only 39 right now, and so that means that he debuted in 03.
We're talking about Batista. That's when he was 39 when he started.
Batista was like 33, but even still, it was later than a lot of wrestlers are. Because now we got Batista in his 50s. Let's see. Jake Salazar says, Phil, what's up with your boy looking like a scrub and letting Logan Paul body him on television 2 weeks in a row? Ready to hop on board and realize WWE is using him as a good hand?
No, I'm ready to admit again that you have bad takes. And this is another bad take. Listen, the build to this match is bad, and I've been saying that from the beginning. These segments are not good. The segment this week I feel like was one of the worst. The Logan Paul stuff, I get you're not supposed to like him, but this wasn't. I don't like you in a heelish, this guy is annoying way. This was just bad. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think the match is going to be fire, but this build has been bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can agree with Jake in the sense that, that is who Seth Rollins is. He is a good hand.
He's a good hand. No, we're done with this podcast.
No, hold on.
Enough.
Hold on.
What are we doing, man?
Hold on.
What the fuck are we doing?
I'm not saying that that's all he has to offer, but I am saying that that's likely all they see him as. I think that they'll never see him as the guy, and I think they've proven that. I think that when you look at even WrestleMania 35 and the fact that in an opportunity where like you had Becky's match, you had Kofi's match, but like of the three, Rollins was the one they saw as go on first and have the shortest of those matches. I think Rollins in general is just a guy that they don't necessarily see as a guy that they'll ever put it all on.
But is that because they don't see it in him, or is that because that's Brock, and Brock at that time made it? I don't think that match opens if it isn't Brock.
Agreed.
I don't think that has anything to do with Seth. I think that is Brock wanting to have Brock's way. Brock knew that he wasn't the main event, so he just like, let's get this over with. Let me have the opening match. I have no proof of that, but that fits into who Brock is.
Sure. I just in general think that as far as who Seth is to the company, I don't see them ever putting it all on his shoulders.
And I can see that, but the thing that I'm disagreeing with here, I can see you saying that he's not the guy. But we know how wrestlers feel about being called a good hand, and we know how that is seen as an insult. And we know how Jake is trying to be funny. That's why I'm like, yo, and there's nothing to agree with here. Jake is trolling. Like, come on, bro.
Jake's
like,
totally
knock it off.
trolling. Seth Rollins is a great pro wrestler. He's not a good.
He's a great pro wrestler, absolutely. Let's see. Alex says, I don't know, man. This Punk stuff doesn't make sense. Like, how can one person hate arguably the 6 most likable locker room guys in Elite, Hanger, Chris?
See,
Mox?
this is the part that kind of drives me crazy.
You don't know these people.
I've seen a lot of that. I saw somebody being like, how could Punk say something about Mox? No one ever said. You don't know Mox, dude. You don't know Punk. You don't know Kenny.
What have I been saying from the beginning? You don't know these people.
You don't know none of these people. Even if you hear things, you still don't know anything that's really going on in these locker rooms. You don't know how these people really are, because they could be putting on a show for all of us all the time. And a lot of them are.
Let's see. Alex says, also Wall, I think you meant Will, deserves some credit. He did around the brawl out that by Double or Nothing, the vibe around Punk will change and turn to miss him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also would like to point out, I thought 2 things that were funny about this thing that made me look like I was right both times is both the Rocky thing, but then when he was mentioning about how he felt about the build, what I pointed out to everybody, go look at Tony's face when I asked that question in the scrum.
Mm-hmm. Beefing.
Jake Salazar said, why are there only 4 black people on the Mania card over 2 nights? They're doing Bronny dirty. Just have him face LA Knight at Mania. It's not hard.
Bronny coming to wrestle now?
Do you mean Bobby? Okay.
Oh, Bobby. Yeah, probably Bobby.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, I think he is facing LA Knight at Mania. But that's...
Yeah, they're doing Bobby dirty.
I think the bigger question is, and I don't know, I think Mania has everything it needs to have. What, there's 13 matches right now. It'll probably be 14 when it's done. It has everything it needs to have. But it is really interesting thinking about, because it kind of goes hand in hand with the topic of how much is too much of a roster. Because I look at this card and I feel like it has everybody it needs to have. But then I look at everybody Hunter re-signed over the last year and thinking about how many
in that battle royal.
Thinking about how many of them aren't on this card. Like, you've got Braun Strowman's on this card. He made it. And Dakota Kai's on the card. And you'll probably see, I'm guessing, like I said, Mia Yim and Candice LeRae probably make it. But beyond that, a lot of those guys who made those comebacks aren't on this card. And I think, like, even after Mania, after we won't have Logan Paul around, we won't have John Cena around, won't have Brock Lesnar, probably won't have Roman Reigns. I don't know if that slots a lot of those guys in. Does it?
Yeah. It's funny because when I was thinking about who could Bobby wrestle at this pay-per-view, I was like, Karrion Kross isn't doing anything. And I'm like, that's not a bad matchup for him. But I'm just sitting thinking, like, I just said that to think, like, who is not wrestling on the show? And I was like, Karrion Kross isn't doing anything. And they brought this guy back in a segment with the champion and Drew McIntyre. And he has not been anywhere near the title picture since then.
Nowhere. Hasn't even smelled Roman.
But also, Karrion Kross is not over at all.
And that's why he's not there anymore. Because when they were like, oh, he's not giving up what we're giving into him, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, what have they done with him that has been good, though?
Nothing.
But also, when he has had the opportunities, what's delivered? Because I don't think the stuff with Drew delivered, and I don't think the match with Rey Mysterio delivered a few weeks ago either. So I think there probably is a question of, is he outputting when he's given the opportunities?
Yeah, I just mentioned. I was just saying, I just mentioned them in a sense of one of the people that was one of the big kind of returns, and they're not on this card. And it's just kind of like, man, he isn't on the card. Wow.
You saying that all those people are going to be out after WrestleMania? I'm like, damn, who's Cody next feud besides like the Randy Orton thing? Because
Gunther.
Yeah, okay, I like it.
Gunther
they had the Royal Rumble thing. Yeah, they could. But I mean, if he's still going to be the Intercontinental Champion, though, yeah, it's probably not going to make a lot of sense if he's still the Intercontinental.
Maybe not right away. But I do think they're groomed to be a world champion soon, and I think he's going to challenge Cody at some point.
Okay. And then there's Seth, even though they beat it to death.
Shane Monster says Doc Samson just got put in a rough spot, didn't he, by Punk saying he wasn't cleared. Also, Punker, watch Rocky 3. Mox wasn't Hoganing you, brother. So yeah. Speaking of which, another one of Stokely getting Doc Samson's name wrong, where he says, "I talked to Dr. Simpson."
Stokely's a fool, man.
But yeah, that
really
is
throw Doc Samson under the bus though. I think he was just saying he wasn't cleared. It wasn't like, oh well, he sent me out there knowing I wasn't cleared. I think it was like that didn't really have anything to do with Doc Samson. Like the other thing that's funny about this is I saw a lot of people like, yeah, I wonder why that squash happened. I thought all that was bad. I still think all of that stuff was good. Maybe it's just me, but I still enjoyed that build.
Right.
So I think, and this is probably what the goal was, I think it probably should have and would have, if Punk was clear then, would have happened sooner. Because I think that's what they wanted, was it to happen a lot earlier than it did. And then to have Punk's comeback story happen over a couple of months and not
weeks,
one episode of Dynamite. I think that was ultimately what they wanted and weren't able to get.
Here's the thing, and I don't want to jump into the he refused to lose to me stuff, because the thing that I always liked about it is that it gave Mox his moment instead of him just being interim champion and then going to the pay-per-view and losing. And I can understand Mox wanting that moment because he deserved that moment. He had carried the company while Punk was away, and he deserved to be recognized as the champion and not interim champion. And so, I didn't hate it. I understood the purpose of it. It didn't bother me. I can understand Punk looking around like, well, why do I got to do that? But that's wrestlers, and wrestlers have egos.
Yeah, I liked it when it happened. I liked it, and I still like it. Honestly, I thought the squash was fit.
Yeah, I think it just they needed more time for it. I think that Punk shouldn't have been down for a week. I think that it needed a lot more time.
Punk is kind of infamously alongside angles that are rushed. Like he should have stayed home with the WWE Championship for way longer than he did when he left.
Yeah.
They rushed that back so fast. So it's just part of his bit.
Everything that happened with Ray and Cena all happening in one night, that should have been like months of programming. That should have been like Ray wins the tournament to become WWE champion and then is challenged by Cena 2 weeks later. Right. And then Cena and Ray face each other at the pay-per-view and have that match one-on-one. Cena wins the title. And then as Cena's celebrating, out comes CM Punk to end the celebration. That's months of programming that they were like, nah, we'll just do this in one night.
Yeah. We don't need 2 months. We got tonight.
It's kind of the Summer of Punk curse at this point. Like, weird. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't watched that Curse of Von Dutch on Hulu, really great documentary.
Von Dutch.
Irene C says, as always, 2 things can be true at once. Punk's gripe bomb was a huge avoidable distraction, and Punk's issues with the dirt sheets and some AEW talent are valid. Our own biases are filling in the rest. Again, like I said, I have all of that stuff, all of the gripes, all of that can be true. The only thing is, I think AEW is right to see that the biggest black eye that took place was Punk burying the company and top people in the company
while sitting next to the boss.
I think all of that was that is, I think, the biggest offense. I think that's the one that the company can look at and go, if anything needs an apology, it's that.
Yeah, it just didn't look good, man. And I think that was kind of Britt Baker's point when she talked about it on Wrestling, I think that was. When she finally talked about it, is that it just kind of sucked to see that, our company had all this controversy around it because of this. And it wasn't like we were getting good buzz about it. It was just all this bad press. And
especially when they had good momentum going into it.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with it. Whether his points are valid or not, I think his execution just really marred a really good pay-per-view. And I think it Because again, I think the build to Mox versus Punk was good. Mox versus Punk at that pay-per-view was a good
Was
match,
good.
but
Yeah.
nobody talks about that because everybody talks about the scrum. I mean, even the way they executed the MJF stuff, there's good stuff there, but
Yeah, and I
talk
mean,
about
even because that's what Cody was saying was, and Swerve and Ricky Starks talked about it on the Swerve City podcast, where like fights backstage happen all the time, and guys get into shit, and eventually they'll resolve it, whatever. It was the bringing it all out in a press conference. That is the one thing that that hurt everything. That there could have been to this day stuff between all those guys that we wouldn't have known about, that we could have moved on from. They just probably don't interact on TV, whatever. That stuff moves on. But when it spilled out in front of the people, and that was the part that was fully controllable, I think that's the one part that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
More than anything else. The squabbles between wrestlers happen all the time. You would
all
be
the
surprised what wrestlers don't get along but have to work together.
Yeah. And that's why I don't really buy into all these people that are like, oh, but how could he not how could he not get along with Hangman? Hangman is by all accounts a good guy. Like, doesn't really have anything to do with it. People get into it all the time because of creative differences or because of some unintended slight or anything. It just happens. It happens all the time. Just like the Ricky and Swerve thing we just brought up. It just happens, and that's why I'm like, people have to stop this. I'm on Team Hangman because he's a good guy, or I'm on this side. Like, stop picking sides and stuff that you don't know the full story on, man.
Yeah, I don't have a side in any of this. I just feel like the one thing that needs to be atoned for is the media scrum that I sat front row for, that I was right there in, that I got to ask a question in. Like, that's the thing that I feel more than anything else has to be atoned for. That's all.
Yeah, I still think at this point it's a little funny that the thing that we were all looking like the least controversial thing he did was the Danhausen answer. And now you look at the Danhausen answer, it's like, oh, that's why he answered that question that way. But at the same time, I think that's what because he was like, yo, I did business. I did not say anything negative about this the whole way. Even when I was asked about the scrum, that was the one thing that I did business on, and you guys are bringing this up.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got Chi-Town Spur says, the Brian last leak is hilarious. Every large corporation has social media guidelines. Portraying it to be some big controversy is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Let's see. Eloquent says, random, but LOL. And Takashi finally caught lacking. Yeah.
Beating homeboy up in his gym shorts and his bubble goose. Like,
after he just got up the Fairmaster. Crazy, man.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But I mean, like, this guy has been putting that energy out into the universe for years now, and it happens to you.
Yeah,
keep doing that.
The one thing I didn't feel comfortable with people celebrating that somebody finally got to him. I'm like, yeah, because the energy this dude is putting out there, I do feel like something really bad is going to happen to him, and I don't want to see this guy die over this. It's stupid. Like, and I don't really understand people in one breath saying that rappers died too much and it's too much of this in hip hop, but then celebrating this guy getting jumped. That didn't make sense to me.
Doesn't really make sense.
Sal says, have you guys, we just talked about the shirt, but have you guys seen the new shirt that Reg was talking about on Twitter? Oof, I want Roman to squash him now.
No, man, you can't be mad at how he is. You know what I mean? Like, he likes that shit.
Anime Otaku says, a little thing I liked as a history nerd, Vikingo's helmet had no horns, although full face cover is ahistorical too, I think.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about Vikings, so I'll take your word for it.
Shanika says, got home from a work trip after 1 a.m. Thursday morning, stayed up to watch the whole episode, and especially this match, no regrets.
That's what's up. That's how you do it. It's a piece of Shanika.
Fun episode.
Cool.
Say Anime Otaku says, got hit with the cross line, but I think Danny's going to be fine. I mean, yeah, that he used the line again. I like Adam Cole making callbacks to old promos and stuff like that. It was good.
Totally.
But I think that's the right opponent for him.
It is.
Yeah, I thought that was a great segment.
Mr. CJ Lilly says, hey guys, well, We know what week for news. First, her excellent performance on Masked Singer and her bout with skin cancer. Glad they found her early. And if you look at her this week and not see a crossover star, I can't help you.
Shout out to CJ, man. Look,
Yeah.
I know that it seems like we're laughing at you, but I just think at this point, man, just be who you are. Be a fan of who you want to be a fan
Straight
of.
up.
There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with
absolutely.
that, man.
No, I love the Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt bit. And honestly, I don't know if you were a fan of the two of them before they got together, but I imagine if you weren't beforehand, you had to, or if you were beforehand, you were probably super excited to have had both of them. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about this cameo bit I did a couple of years ago where somebody had tweeted that they made, this is probably the meanest thing I've ever done on social media, and I apologize for this. This is back in 2021. But somebody tweeted that they paid Alexa Bliss $600 for a cameo, right? And it was only like a 20-second cameo. And so I had taken that person's cameo and changed it to, I was like, look, Alexa Bliss made me a cameo too. And let me see if I could find it.
Damn.
Damn it. This was, again, just one of those like really stupid things I had done.
Your phone's not gonna let you be rude. They're gonna be like, "This is not you, Will Washington. You're a nice guy."
Oh no, this was I was like, hey, I did this for Maxwell Baumbach. So I made this. I took the Alexa Bliss tweet or the cameo, and basically I made one for Maxwell Baumbach, and it was very kind. Here we go. Ready?
Hi,
Maxwell Baumbach,
you're all the way from the great state of
Illinois.
I don't know if I've ever been to.
Illinois.
It seems like it's really far away from my playground. But hopefully one day we'll make it there and we get to invite all the friends to join my playground, especially friends like you. I hope you have an amazing day.
I forgot she was doing the cameos in the playground
Yeah.
funhouse stuff. Oh man, paying
Yeah,
$600 for that is wow.
600 of them things for
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Yeah. Fun times. I forgot all about that till right now.
Cameos.
Chaos
Yeah.
Control said, coincidentally, I'm also retiring, had me dead. Yeah, that was a great line from Stoke. Brody Gaming says, long live Grapsody. Ramadan. What's the other word?
Mubarak.
Mubarak. Okay. To those celebrating around the world.
Straight
That's
up.
right. It is.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that just started celebrating Ramadan. This hard fasting. I did it. I guess if you're just used to doing it every year, but man, that
Yeah.
whole not eating till sundown.
Yeah, just doing
you
it like
gotta-
randomly out of nowhere is crazy.
You gotta be very disciplined. You gotta stay on a good schedule. And it's just weird stuff. Like I remember at the time when I was fasting once, somebody was like, "Hey, you want some gum?" And somebody just hands you gum. You just like, "Yeah, I'll take some gum." And I'm eating. I'm like, "Eat gum?"
Yeah, so
Marcus-
shout out to everyone for Ramadan.
Marcus Ryan says, I ain't no killer, but don't push me. That's Tupac. That was great, too. Again, I think Stokely Hathaway is just the funniest man in wrestling. I don't think anybody has his kind of timing. Deontay says, Stoke with I'll be missing you. Every comment was funny. Bussin' brisket.
Speaking of biscuit is bussin' was hella funny.
Oh, see, did you win LMAO? But that was too funny. Stoke is a legend.
Yeah. We gotta get Stoke on TV as much as possible, man. This guy is a national treasure.
He is.
He is. Let's see. We got. Let's switch over to the Humper chats for a minute because I've been kind of neglecting those. Let's see. We've got this one from a rare beast. Thank you, a rare beast. It says, and let's get this in here. A rare beast says, everyone seems to have the same screenshot of Punk's Insta post. I trust Fightful enough to not feel it's fake, but could he theoretically just post, I didn't say that and cause a frenzy? I mean, then he'd be lying.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, you've heard the song. It wasn't me. I mean, the whole Eddie Murphy bit is just wasn't me.
Or all the people
Well,
that be like, I was hacked. I don't know what happened. Somebody hacked
Yeah.
that and said that.
But we see this screenshot. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, but that's your username. Not wasn't me.
So,
I mean, he's been doing the joke one since then, and
Yeah.
those, of course, are not getting as much
The
traction.
copy paste. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff. I think he's trying to make the point that I could post anything over here, and you guys would run with it.
Let's see. We got this one here from Hala. It says, feeling extra appreciative of Grapsody this week. The punk stuff happened on the same day as I got life-changing mental health diagnosis. So I'm probably projecting, but I feel like he needs help. Thinking about that before passing judgment. I can't really speak to that, but that's an interesting way to look at it.
I will say this on this. I don't want to get into his mental health or speak for anybody else's mental health. I do think that he's got to get past a point of feeling like he has to stew over all of this stuff and then it come out in an unhealthy way. I think he's got to deal with this stuff in a better way. He's got to find a better way to deal with, especially at this point in his career. He knows how the game is. He knows he's too popular. He knows that anything he does is going to become news. He could come out tomorrow and just be like, all right. I mean, just like prime example, when Danhausen tweeted that thing the other day that he's going out with him and Brody Lee. In response to that, somebody's going to come with something negative about him. That just comes with the territory. And I think he's got to learn to deal with the negative stuff in a better way.
Hala did follow up on that one and said that regarding my last chat, to be clear, mental health doesn't absolve a person of responsibility for their actions, but it's something to think about before labeling someone a terrible person who deserves XYZ. Just my thought.
definitely. Yeah. Agreed.
Let's see. We got another from D'Lo who says, let's make sure I got this one right. Yep. This one's from D'Lo. It says, "Sup, fellas. Had a busy last few weeks. Missed the show. Peace and love." Thank you, D'Lo. Always
Thanks,
appreciate
D'Lo.
you.
Appreciate that.
You, D'Lo. Sailor Saturn, I'm sorry I didn't give this context. Danhausen tweeted something about, I can't remember specifically what he was doing that night with Brody Lee and Phil. He called him Phil. And if you didn't notice, the response to that from Jungle Boy was, "Hey, there's some cool stuff on Netflix." And the thing that he referenced that was on Netflix was Rocky.
Yeah.
Good shit, JV.
Let's see. Black Phoenix Brand asks, not wrestling related, but where does The Dark Knight rank on your all-time comic book movies list and why? It's easily top 3 for me. Whew. Okay, so when The Dark Knight came out, I saw that movie 5 times in theaters. 5. Back then, I would have said number 1. Where does it sit now? I wish it had been followed up on better because I did not like The Dark Knight Rises. And I almost died for that movie, as a lot of people know. But that's probably why I feel a little bitter about that movie.
I would think so.
But as far as the Dark Knight is concerned, it's still top 3 for me, I think. It's still very, very good. I still think that I don't think a movie has done a better job of establishing a Joker Batman dynamic than that movie. And it really does make me sad that Heath Ledger died before it even came out, because thinking about that last line that he says of, "I think you and I are destined to do this forever." And you can almost see when you watch The Dark Knight Rises how much of that movie was probably supposed to be about the Joker. In that, like, the Joker getting out of Arkham Asylum and taking over Gotham City and exposing Batman and all of that would have made way more sense than Bane doing it. And it's like, well, how did he even have access to any of this stuff? This is supposed to be Joker's story. You can see that. But it's up there. I think top 3. What about you, Phil?
I think this is a rather hot take. It's not. I think it is in my top 5, and it's slowly sliding out of my top 5. And I think it depending on what you're ranking. If you're ranking it as all-time great movies, it's not in my top 5. If you're ranking it as comic book movies, I I kind of feel like in some ways, Dark Knight is a comic for people that are embarrassed of comic book movies.
That's fair.
And I say that because it makes such a big point of being grounded in everything that comic books are not. And that's not to say that it's a bad movie and I don't enjoy it, but as a fan of the genre, there are so many movies that I enjoy lean into what the genre is. And that's just my opinion. Don't now come out of here and turn this into, oh, you don't know anything, you're wrong. But I think, like I said, it's in my top 5, but there are other comic book movies that I feel like rank above it for my personal taste. Like Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. And I rank it above Dark Knight, A, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and because of what I think of the genre. But that's just my taste.
You know what I just watched the other day, by the way? Haven't seen it in probably 20 years. I thought I had watched it more recently. I guess it came out 19 years ago, so this is a false statement. But I probably haven't watched it in like 15. But while I was sitting at my hotel right before Dynamite, X-Men 2 was on, and I hadn't seen that movie in forever.
Oh, my God. Talk about movies that age poorly is some of those X-Men movies.
Yeah, like I loved X-Men 2 at the time, and I still feel like it's really good in a lot of ways.
It's good.
But I think that my biggest issue with X-Men movies, and it's why I need Marvel to handle the X-Men very carefully when it comes time to do so, is how rushed it all is. I feel like it's interesting that the kiss between Wolverine and Jean happens so quickly that like it happens 2 movies in, and I thought there was not enough build up to this for him to feel the way he has when, you know, as an X-Men fan, I built up to this over a long time. And there's a piece of me that's like, I don't want an X-Men movie, to be honest, out of Marvel. I don't. I want an X-Men series more than anything.
I agree. I think they should make it into like a Disney Plus show, but that'll never happen because it's too lucrative. Like it's too much money to be made off X-Men.
It is too lucrative, but I feel like every X-Men's individual story is so important that I don't feel like you can get away with just trying to tell it all in one movie. And I think that that's where X-Men has always benefited from comic books and TV series is, all right, we've had time to explore Wolverine, we've had time to explore Cyclops, we've had time to explore Nightcrawler, Storm, any character you want to name, we've had time for that. But a single movie has never done enough for anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what I mean when I say that there was a time period where people were trying to make comic book movies, but trying their best to go, hey, I need regular audiences to like this too. So we can't have Logan be in yellow spandex. He's got to be in black leather because we don't want him to look silly. We gotta make this so that other people like it too. And I feel like some of that stuff is what I've grown to not enjoy as much about Dark Knight and some of those older comic book movies. And that's not to say that Dark Knight is bad. It is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, but for my personal taste, it's not high up there. I saw somebody say which Spider-Man 2. Like, what do you mean which Spider-Man 2? Tobey Spider-Man 2, the one that came out on my birthday, one of the greatest movies ever made. What do you mean?
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Let's see. We got another here from Chi-Town Spurs says, y'all need to check MJF's latest tweet. I haven't seen that.
It's him making a joke about the Kanye stuff again, and I think people are going to make a think about it. But that's why he's doing it. I don't know why you guys don't understand. This guy's trolling you.
Oh no! He said, "I'd like to thank Jonah Hill for making it possible to rock out to the Graduation album again. I'd like to announce Kanye is no longer anti-Semitic, but the jury is still out on Sammy, Darby, and Jungle after interrupting my pre-bar mitzvah."
Oh,
I'm sorry. Max.
No comment.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, why would anybody think I would think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is one of the best movies? Amazing Spider-Man 2 is bad. It's a bad,
so bad. That
bad
movie fucking
movie.
stinks. I'm sorry. I wanted to like that movie so much. I never walk into anything wanting to hate it, especially when I spend money on it, especially when it's a character that I'm invested in. And I gave Amazing Spider-Man, with that first one, a lot of credit. Amazing Spider-Man 2 fucking stinks. And it trivializes the death of Gwen Stacy so badly. I don't think anything has trivialized that moment worse than that movie. But the fact that she dies, and within 5 movie minutes, we've moved on, and he's moved on with his life.
Well, he hasn't really moved on with his life. Like, they gave an entire montage of being miserable, and then they did the stupid rhino reveal that was.
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like, we got it in a montage, but like, that's why I said within 5 minutes, as in watching this movie, we've moved past it. They're like, okay, we show his grief, we show this, and this, and then it's like, all right, now he's back to being Spider-Man, and we're good. And I thought, no, this is a huge moment. This is something that we needed to sit on for like another movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say that I enjoyed the experience of going to see Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know if I've ever told this story in the podcast, but I saw it in New York. Like, there was like all of this Spider-Man related stuff I got to do in New York that week. It was cool. But movie itself was not good. And I mean, like, the first few minutes of it, him falling out of the sky, that montage of him swinging, excellent. Him stopping that robbery, excellent. Totally falls off a cliff after that.
Yes. Let's see. Big Hero Chris says, I feel like the Usos are using Sammy as a way to express their feelings about Roman. Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
That's the story.
Let's see. Jake says, I like Seth, Phil, but WWE has showed he's not important unless he's there to get people over. He's a good hand due to the booking.
I think the problem is you keep trying to put good hand in there, and you know the implications behind calling someone a good hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you keep trying to make this point to me, but I think you also know the implications behind that term. And it's never gonna be something I agree with, because the guy, you can't say that a guy that has won a WWE championship at WrestleMania is a good hand. It's stupid. Mm-hmm. No.
Mm-hmm. Miss CJ Lilly says, I also love knowing Alexa will be backstage, so it gives me hope she might be in an in segment in some ways, just depending on what's happening with Bray at the moment, and the Triple H returns are for the future. Leron says, what titles do you guys think will not change hands at WrestleMania? I don't think Intercontinental's changing hands. I mean,
I don't think it is either.
Maybe it could. Like, they are telling the story of Sheamus has never won this belt, but I think they'll do that one-on-one when they do it.
Yeah, I could see this being a match that Sheamus wins, and I could see them doing a story that Sheamus pinned Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
But other than that, because you can come out and say Gunther never really lost.
Which
but I feel like Gunther is going to retain though.
Yeah.
I could also see, like, a week ago, I probably would have said Asuka's winning the title, but now I don't feel like she's being heated up for it. And, like, it feels like Bianca is being groomed for a loss, but it doesn't feel like Asuka's being set up for a win.
Boy, let me tell you, I've gone on rants on this podcast. If they have this woman win 3 stipulation matches to earn a title shot and lose, I am going to be furious. Mm-hmm. You cannot have Asuka lose this match. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. 18 months ago, I saw Cody as the setup guy for Malachi Black. Now I've never been as invested in seeing someone win a match. Hope WWE doesn't hose us.
Do the right thing here, man.
Jared says, what's the opposite of a heat magnet? That's carrying.
I gotta feel bad for Karrion Kross, man. I gotta think that he thought things were gonna be better this time around going back, and it hasn't turned out well. So
the bro never had it, unfortunately.
I mean, I won't say that he never had it, because I think the Impact stuff he was doing was good.
It wasn't going to translate to WWE, though.
I think parts of his NXT run were good, but I think that they leaned too heavy on him too soon, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Not being Killer Cross really fucks up a lot.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Killer Cross stuff with Impact.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing sometimes to be big fish, small pond.
Yeah.
And I think
totally
Impact might have been the best place for him.
Yeah.
And that's maybe he just wasn't built for being outside of it.
And speaking of Impact, we got to send love out to former Impact World Champion Josh Alexander, who I think he's torn his bicep, so he had to forfeit the Impact tricep. He had to forfeit over his Impact World Championship. He had an amazing run, bunch of insane matches, an hour match with Mike Bailey. Just did the best he could to be the best Impact World Champion in a long time. So love out to him. That really sucks, man. Like, you never want a run like that to end on some dumb injury.
Yeah, I think he was having a great run. I'd hate that it's ending this way.
You don't want the record-setting run to end that way.
Yeah, worst way.
I am here to formally start the campaign for Jonathan Gresham as Impact World Champion.
Yeah, I like it. Liking it a lot. Yeah. Not to be Steve Macklin.
Chi-Town Spur says, you lose the benefit of the doubt when you're the common denominator of multiple issues. Punk's problems are always rational, but the frequency of occurrences with different people is why I take issue.
That's fair. I do think that some of it, of course, he's not going to always talk about the part that he plays and things and how difficult he may be, because, listen, it's hard for people to be humble and admit that they're part of the problem.
Right.
It is very hard for people to do that. I don't think that it's just a celebrity thing. You know, some people that you talk to every day that don't want to admit when they're wrong ever.
1000%.
G Bro says, we know how these people vote. I can't fault Punk.
What does that mean?
I think specifically referring to the people Punk probably has a problem with. Which would be,
I don't want to.
No. We're going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Because the Hangman is a very specific one that.
Yeah. Because.
You can't base it on that.
I don't want to do that, because there are people that don't vote the way that I vote that I get along with very well, and there are people that vote the way that I vote with that I don't get along with at all. So that ain't got nothing to do with it.
Like pretty much the only person you could put that on as far as Punk is concerned is Jericho. But other than that, the other people probably vote the same way Punk does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Zero Prime says, can we talk about greatest Riho calls Stokely female dog 2 times? Yeah. We need Riho versus Stokely, but money on Riho.
Riho Stokely's hella funny.
Robert Aquatic says, straight edge ain't working for Punk. Motherfucker needs a J.
I mean, it could work.
I don't know, man. That's why he's got the dog. The dog is supposed to be his stress reliever.
Yep.
Let's see. Funny Rob Bebe says, I'm now subscribed to Select, so where the news at?
We're not buying Patreon. What you mean? You came on the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Where the love at?
Yeah. Love.
You'll get us this Wednesday, though, for a special edition of Ask Grapsody.
Will we?
I don't know. When are we doing that? I thought it was Wednesday. That was Phil's suggestion. I know.
I don't know.
We're gonna both be in LA.
That's right,
I'm leaving my home to fly to LA on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, might be Tuesday.
We need to figure something out. A whole bunch of game plans and things.
Oh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
You want to do it in? Okay, we'll talk about this afterwards. But maybe you get what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's not bad. Let's see. Adam Russo says, what do you think about the Usos retaining but Roman losing, setting them up to see that maybe they've outgrown Roman? That's not a bad idea.
That's not bad.
It's not a bad idea. But I don't think that you should burn fans twice with Sammy.
True.
Yeah. No, just change everything.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Sammy's got to win here.
You can't do the double burn. You're right.
And I saw a super chat from Caden saying that he thinks it might be a work. What specifically were you referring to, Caden, when you said that you think it might be a work?
Well,
please don't be the Punk stuff.
Absolutely not, Caden.
I think the stipulation for that guns match proves once and for all that this FDR stuff is a work.
Yeah, totally. And I saw Caden tweeting about Caden was at the tapings and something happened with Action Andretti, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I heard
out love out to Action Andretti too.
Yeah, that he did get hurt and they had to call his match off.
Dang. No, I think we got to get out of this work stuff with Punk. Like,
Yeah, no.
I don't think it's, I don't think it's
I don't
work.
think so.
I don't think you could say very specific things like the stuff about him working without being cleared. Nah,
Yeah, I was gonna say
because
if Tony Khan looks crazy if this is a work, then
yeah,
that's
because
not how
if
this
that's the
works.
work that what is that? What does that do for your company? That makes your company look bad.
Yeah,
That doesn't build a storyline. Like, nah.
yeah.
So we got a couple more. Atlas says, with the 10-year anniversary of Bullet Club and Forbidden Door 2 announced, what do y'all think will happen with the group? Love Finley, but he isn't leader material. Who steps up? And follows up with, and who got juice to go after Ricky? Do the Elite rejoin or feud with Bullet Club this year?
No on the Elite rejoining. That's not happening.
I can see Finn Juice working Ricky, though.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't buy Finley as the leader. I think they're just kind of going along with it right now because nobody has really stepped into Jay White's spot. But Finley's not the guy. Finley is not the leader that needs to step in after what I feel is the greatest leader of the stable. No.
And Atlas Earth also says, isn't the issue with calling Jericho a stooge and a liar right next to Meltzer thing, implying that Jericho is the one talking shit about Punk to Dave without proof? He thought the same thing about the Bucks at the scrum. Wrong then, wrong now.
Is that directed at me? Because I saw
think
my
so.
name in it. Oh, I don't know if that's what he's implying. Maybe that's what he's implying. But how do I put this? Because people think I hate Jericho. Jericho might not. This story in particular didn't come from Jericho, but we all but know that Jericho has fed Dave other things. So I think that's what he's upset about, and I think it's a combination of things he's upset with Jericho about. I don't think it's just this thing. It was just one of those things where he was venting. And by the way, fuck this guy too.
Let's see. Redmond asked, where do we think Trinity Star is going? Where do I think? I think my gut feeling is that she is the fourth outcast. But as far as that's my gut feeling on
I like it. Like I said, I would love to see her in Impact if she's going to, and but yeah, I think that she could do the Outcast thing, and she maybe could link some deals with their friend Mercedes and end up in Japan. You really just never know at this point.
Yeah, you never know.
The paint is green. Like she
Yeah.
like has done like green for like a lot of parts of her career.
So that, and she's always taught. I mean, it's been said she's close with Saraya, and so
Yeah, she's had some of her best matches with Saraya, in my opinion. So that makes sense. And they've had a lot of other, links, be Total Divas and all other stuff. So it makes sense.
Right.
I don't know.
Let's see. We got Alex Diaz says, "Hey guys, what are your honest predictions for MJF in 2024? Where does he end up, or do you guys think he has re-signed already? Also, predictions to the WrestleMania 40 main event. Thanks."
That's next year.
Yeah, next year in Philly. So, this is just a feeling. I don't know this to be a fact, but I think he re-signed already.
You think so?
I think so. And then as far as predictions to the WrestleMania 40 main event, well, let's think about this right now. No, I can't even picture it right now. Last year was easy to picture, right? Because you could almost book it last year when you saw, all right, Roman, biggest thing in the world right now. Cody just made this triumphant big comeback. WrestleMania next year, Cody and Roman, right? So I would like to look at the landscape of right now and try and make a guess as to what it's going to be next year. I mean, like looking at the landscape right now, I'm like Cody Roman too. I don't know.
Seems about it at this point. I mean, they could heat up Gunther. It could be Cody and Gunther next year. I can see that.
I mean, you could heat up Gunther. You could set your oven to 700 degrees. He'll never be Roman hot.
Well, yeah.
And so
He's a
I have to think
foreigner.
about main event of WrestleMania. Like thinking about the fact that every opportunity they've had other than WrestleMania 35 for Roman to main event, Roman's main evented.
So Roman and Cody too. Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah,
Roman
I mean,
Cody too.
I think they're still going to try and make this Rock match happen because they are just they're stuck on this. I think fans are now stuck on this. Fans are going to keep trying to pitch for this Rock versus Roman main event. I don't know if I buy that that'll be the WrestleMania 40 main event. I don't know. It feels like it's Roman versus somebody. I'm not buying that it's going to be Cody main eventing 2 years in a row because I think they still want Roman to break Hogan's streak. I mean, Hogan's record. So I think it will be Roman.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who it'll be against. And I don't think it'll be a title match if I had to guess. I feel like it's going to be just one of those big, like
That's why my brain is just
once
like
in a
Cody
lifetime
Roman.
matches.
Cody Roman 2. This is where I've gone with it.
I don't know if I think it's going to be Cody. I think. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it by then. So much could change in a year.
It's WrestleMania 40.
Yeah.
Brock and Roman, run it back, baby.
Please, no. Dear God, no.
Grandpa's back too.
Why'd you give like this Pillsbury Doughboy like laugh? I mean, in a perfect world for me, I think at that point it should be Seth Roman by that point. But
Yeah.
I think they missed their chance.
Right.
Caden says, all right, let me make up for that. Excited to see all three of y'all next week and enjoy some great wrestling. Also, go Longhorns. And we'll wrap up with this final super chat. This one is from Anurag. It says, when do you think Brian will return? Does Garcia twins moving out of WWE mean that Brian may stay in AEW after his contract ends? How important, valuable of a signing is Brian for AEW? I know that I know for a fact that Tony feels very confident in Brian, just in what Brian brings to the table and how much he feels like Brian stays quiet when it comes to dirt sheet stuff and things along those lines. You can those are conversations I've had, and I know that he's very confident in him. I could see, I think remember how I always say that Brian would have been in AEW day one if the contract stuff had lined up. I also think Brian would have been an EVP day one had that all happened. Thinking about how Brian was already involved in creative in WWE when he left, I think he would have initially signed with AEW as in a big role at that time. So when do I think he'll return? I think he'll be back before Double or Nothing. I think that my bet is we get Anarchy in the Arena, Elite versus BCC, all four members of BCC versus the against Kenny, Hangman, and the Bucks.
That is just nuts.
I can see that. I think he'll be back by the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view because, again, I believe Claudio is going to retain. And I think all of this is leading to the BCC turning on Brian, and Brian is going to challenge for the title.
Drew Nicholas says, this year Roman versus Cody, next year Roman versus Ricky Starks. Oh, yeah, and then they should
dreaming, buddy.
They should use that footage of Ricky Starks when he was a security guard when Roman was being arrested. As like, hey, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, just splice in that the footage of him walking in the Royal Rumble this year.
Be like he was plotting that whole time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Ricky. Guys. Yeah, shout out Ricky for being great to my kids. Took a picture with my daughter and son and did the pose with Billy. That was cool.
Good dude.
Yeah, good dude. Everybody's good. I mean, the first thing he said to me was, he's like, God damn it, I see you everywhere. Which is true, because did see him at Wale Mania, and a couple weeks later saw him at the hotel after Dynamite, and I have.
At Wale Mania where we saw him and Cam was like, "Hey, you guys know Ricky White? Yeah, we know Ricky. You know, just happens to be on TV.
Oh,
Cam.
no,
what are you
but-
talking about?"
No, the way Cam introduced him, he was like, "Hey, I want to introduce y'all to my friend Rick," and we're like, "Come on, man! Like,
we know who Ricky is, bro. What you talking about, Cam?
My friend Rick.
Cam is something else, man.
yeah." So either way, but I have definitely bumped into Ricky a good number of times, and yeah, he was just like, "How do I see you everywhere?" I'm like, I don't know. But either way, folks, that's it for this edition of Grapsody. Thanks for being with us. I'm Will Washington. He's Philip Lindsay. He's Righteous Reg. Mania week coming up this week. We got a lot going on. As I told you guys, Day After Dynamite is going to be a late night Dad After Dark because I'll be traveling on Thursday. If you're at Wale Mania, come say hi. If you just see us in them streets in LA, come say what's up to your boys.
Yeah.
I won't be there very long, but Reg and Phil will be, so let them enjoy. Outside of that, folks, see you next time. Have a great day. Peace.